I'm going to go extreme for a second.
All right. Yeah. I think you go to the network marketer
Can you
first.
find a way for every person listening to this to not pay any tax?
Yes.
Using real estate?
Yes.
Every single one.
Every single one. There's not a person on planet Earth that you cannot do this.
Welcome to the Excellence Project. My name is Eric Worre, and today we have real estate expert and investor Pace Morby. And I think you're going to find this conversation very interesting. We're talking about very creative and innovative ways for people to invest in real estate, to pay less tax, to end up with more assets, to end up with more cash flow, very, very efficiently, very, very legally here in the United States. We talk about everything. And I ask basically every amateur question there is to ask because I am an amateur and he is a professional. I think by the end, you'll at least have a better idea of what this whole real estate thing is and how you can focus on whatever you're doing to create more cash flow for yourself and still benefit from the real estate without having to become a super ninja like Pace is. So with no further ado, let's jump right into my conversation with real estate expert, Pace Morby. Pace Morby, how you doing?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me in your house. This is unbelievable.
I'm glad you're here. This has been a long time coming. We've been like circling each other's orbits for how many years now? It's been
years and years. We have all the same buddies and hanging out with all the same people and stuff, and we just keep missing each other.
We're all doing it. So to connect it now for the first time is super interesting. I'm fascinated with the topic that we're going to talk about, which is real estate.
Yeah.
Mostly because I've been great at generating cash flow. I've been great at growing businesses. I've been great at, even creating wealth, but most of my investments, mine and my wife's investments have been back into businesses, growing other businesses. That's been the best thing for us. Maybe not the most tax efficient. We've gotten our tax write-offs with airplanes and stuff like that.
Toys,
yeah, things,
second homes.
Yeah. Well, we haven't done that, but
you have three homes all built into one.
Kind of. Yeah. Studio, big studio, those different types of things. I've always been envious of the people who seem to have figured out real estate. So I've always ridden this line between this is something I should learn. Do I have the bandwidth to learn it? And what sacrifices will I make to my core business if I go do that?
Yeah. What
am I losing by not learning this? So walk me back.
Yeah.
You're a young guy.
41. Yeah.
Yeah.
The older I get, the more young I feel, which is great.
Yeah. Well, me too. But you know how much I pay for 41?
How much?
A lot. I'd pay everything I have plus 20 million.
You know what I wouldn't pay for is be back in my 20s again.
No, I agree. I don't want to go do that.
I think 40 is like the magical age.
Yeah. If you could pick anywhere from like 33 to
once you got like skills,
40-ish.
resources, relationships, once I got those things, I felt like the world was my oyster. But like back in my 20s, you're sitting there second guessing everything about your life.
What if you knew everything you knew right now and you went back to your 20s?
It would screw up all the mistakes I made and all the journey of self-discovery.
Right.
It would also,
I'm not a big, go back and rewrite history because I like where my life is.
Yeah, your life is pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, yours too. But so you came out of the construction?
Yeah.
That's how you got into the real estate thing?
I grew up in a family of 12 kids.
What?
Yeah, 12 kids. My mom and dad still.
Where are you in the order?
Number 3.
What does that make you?
A diaper changer. That's what it makes me. I changed.
And your babysitter of 8 or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was, my parents were amazing. They still are amazing. And it put me in a world where I understood community and I understood how to connect with people.
Yeah.
My parents moved us around a lot. So that was something I also grew up learning.
Why were you moving around?
My dad was an entrepreneur that could never learn how to delegate. That was his problem. 96% of business owners will never get past $1 million a year in revenue or more. And a lot of the people you teach and you mentor, it's the same thing. It's like they can't get past themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you need to hire somebody, right? You've got Keaton here. She's amazing.
Right.
She's sitting here running parts of your world. Like, people go, Eric, how did you scale? Well, I did it not by myself.
Right.
My dad could never figure that out. Still to this day, my dad's 67 and still it's him, himself, and himself. That's it. And so because of that, my dad would build the business to $800,000 a year. And then because he couldn't hire people properly, or he would partner with his identical freaking twin, not literally, but figuratively, you know, and a visionary with another visionary, they would basically just gobble each other to death. And then my dad would have to reset and go, all right, I'm moving. And he'd move to another state.
What kind of businesses was he running?
He went to college, graduated as an accountant, went and got his MBA. And then he went and worked at Rockford Fosgate, which is a big speaker company, international speaker company, as a CFO.
Okay.
And said, I can do this better. And so he went out and started doing all sorts of things. He did network marketing, somewhat successful, but he didn't build a team underneath him.
Okay,
it was
selling?
just him, right? He was just selling. He didn't really treat it like a business.
He was a solopreneur.
Solopreneur. And he was a high-level worker is what I call him. Never was my dad was never an owner. He's always been a high-level worker.
Okay.
Right. High paid worker. And so he then started in construction because he said, I can do this and I can go to homeowners jobs. I can be hands-on. It's how he put himself through college. So he just kept going back to where he was. And I watched that. And so when I turned 8 and I started realizing money was a thing.
When you turned 8?
Yeah, I turned 8. I started going, I need $10 to go to the gas station. I need $20 to do this. Hey, Dad, will you give me some money? No, but you can paint the fascia and I'll pay you $20. And so I learned in that household that money was scarce and it wasn't abundant. But I also learned something that was helpful, but also held me back, which was I need to trade my time for my money.
Yeah.
And so I got into my 20s. I went on a mission for my church to Korea. I lived in Korea from age 19 to 21. I get home. What's the first thing I jump into? Construction. Because I'm like, oh, I saw how my dad supported 12 freaking kids and could buy 12 gallons of milk and a dozen eggs. You know, my dad would buy a gross of eggs weekly. Like that's crazy. 150 eggs is what our family went through. So I just looked at money's not abundant. You need to trade your time for money. You have to be on the job site in order to earn that money. And I built a big business and I had 250 employees.
250 in construction?
In construction, I was doing like $25 million a year.
Home or residential?
Mostly residential, yeah.
Okay.
So have you ever heard of Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow? Obviously Zillow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was their contractor.
Okay.
So I was really good at social media, just documenting my journey, showing a backsplash in somebody's house. Like here's their before, here's their after. Open Door, which is a big iBuyer before Zillow was buying homes a couple of years ago. Open Door were the people that invented that business. They looked up on Instagram, they typed in Arizona contractors and the name of my construction company was AZ Contracting. So it popped up to the top. They bring me in. They go, okay, you seem cool. You're on top of your game. They hire me. This is 2013. So about 11 years ago. And man alive, did I have a ride. I built out their Vegas operation, their Dallas operation. I built out all their operations. And it was the first time I took home $1 million after taxes. So I had to make like 2 million to basically take home $1 million. And man, I thought I was killing it. Then I had this
were compared to like 99.9% of people.
For sure. And the problem with construction and where I was at that point, I didn't know how to keep my money. Right. I'm sure you know a lot of people that make $1 million+ a year and they never have
leaky
money.
Bucket.
I had a leaky bucket. So I had a lady named Bethany who was one of my clients. She was flipping houses. And she says to me one day, she's flipping houses. I'm doing the work. My guys are doing the work on her house. And she says to me about 11 years ago, why aren't you in real estate? I go, I am in real estate. Look at all these houses I'm touching, these houses I'm flipping. Look at all this. She's like, you're not in real estate. I'm in real estate and you are my servant. I was like, what?
She said those actual words?
Oh, she said to me right after that, she said, you are a Google search away from being replaced.
That was a great gift. Most people aren't that direct.
She was one of the greatest gifts of my life because she was, here I was still taking advice from my parents in my 20s. I didn't have mentors. I didn't have the right groups to be around. I knew there was something inside of me like we all do, but I wasn't around the people that could unlock it. And I didn't realize that until I met Bethany. And Bethany sits me on the back of my truck. She opens up my truck bed. She's like, sit your ass down right here. And she says, you're a simple Google search away from being replaced. And then she would say, why aren't you in real estate again? And I go, I don't know where the money comes from. And I don't know where this happens. And I don't know this. And she goes, oh my gosh. She says, tell me all your questions. I start rattling off my questions. She goes, okay, you're an asshole. It's the first time I ever heard the word asshole.
Yeah, I love it.
And I go, what the hell's an asshole? She goes, you're just one of these guys who just ask questions. You don't take any action. I'm like, bullshit. I will take action right now. You just got to tell me what to do. So she tells me to pull out my phone and she tells me to send out mailers to market to homeowners. I'm like, what the hell do I know about this? She's like, has that ever stopped you before? Just do the thing. And that first month I was in real estate. I'm not licensed, and nor will I ever be licensed. I'm not a real estate agent. I also think real estate agents are slaves. They are not in real estate. They are service provider to people who are in real estate. Mm-hmm. I'm in real estate. Real estate agents serve me. Mm-hmm. And when agents fight me on that, and they go, no, we are an agent. We're called real estate agents. We have a license to sell real estate. I'm like, you have a license to sell my real estate, dude. You don't have a license to invest. You can do that without all that stuff. So I made 50 grand in my first month with Bethany. If you want to hear my first story, my first deal,
please,
I'd love to tell you.
Please.
Yeah, it's great. My first deal comes this way. This is how messed up my mindset was. My first deal comes from, I send out $5,000 of mailers, right? The postcards that say, we'll buy your house for cash. You see the signs all over the world. Mm-hmm. I saw those driving around. I just didn't know who those people were and what they were doing. I couldn't connect the dots. And then she sets me on the back of the truck. She tells me to call this company called Yellow Letters HQ. I don't use them anymore. I don't send mailers anymore. It's a very antiquated, barbaric way of doing business, especially in today's AI age. But it's what I did 11 years ago. So I send out $5,000 of postcards, which is about 10,000 postcards. The company that she told me to call told me the color, the size, what zip codes to send. I was like, what the freak? There's somebody on the other side of a website that has all these answers. And the guy that I call, he goes, yeah, I know where to send them, how often to send them, what to say. I have all the scripts. I know everything. And I'm sitting there going, where was this? And Bethany was like, it was one question away from you. And I've been your client for 6 months. You've never asked me a question. You've never asked me how I'm finding these houses. Like, are you a man? She would even question my manhood, which I really appreciate. Truly, to be honest. Your wife married you? You know, that kind of crap. And I really appreciate her. I text her all the time. Still 11 years later, I'm so grateful for her. So here's what happens. The postcards bring phone calls to call me, right? It's inbound leads. They're expensive. $5,000 is what I spent. I ended up getting about 20 phone calls that month in my first month. So if you think about that, every phone call.
What did the postcard?
I'll buy your house for cash. Are you in a bind? Do you need a hurry? Do you have a quick time to get out of your house? That kind of stuff, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't get one of those postcards.
And did you have the cash?
No.
Okay.
I did not have the cash.
So you.
And I'll get to that. This is
following. You just.
She told me to shut up. She told me to stop asking questions. That's when she would call me an asshole. Like every time I would call her, she would be like, "Oh, hey, asshole."
Yeah.
Oh, dude, this lady's so brutal. Like so brutal in the best possible way. Like a mom needs to be sometimes.
Right.
So 2 weeks after I spend the $5,000, I get 2 phone calls on the same day. So here's what I did. I set up, I had my main phone for my construction business. Bethany told me to get a second phone so that was my money phone. That was the money phone, is the bat phone. She called it the bat phone. People are going to call this bat phone. I have no idea what to say. I have no idea how to value the houses. I have no idea any of this stuff. Okay. And this is just the art of imperfect action, right? So I missed the first 2 calls. You know how I missed the first 2 calls? They called in the middle of the day. How did I miss the first 2 calls? Because I was so busy on a construction site installing a toilet. One of my guys messed up a toilet. I had to go back to the house. The homeowner was complaining. I had to go and install the toilet, and I felt the money phone vibrating on my butt. And I was like, you know what? I'll get to them later. It's no big deal. I got to handle this toilet. I'm handling a freaking toilet, and I'm avoiding a $400 lead, right? These leads cost me $400. So I get home that night. My wife asked me, hey, how's it going? Did you get any leads? I go, yeah, I got 2 leads. I told her the story. She goes, when are you going to call them? I go, I'll call them tomorrow. She's like, you're the dude that if we go to a restaurant and there's a 10-minute wait, you will go to a less quality restaurant because you don't want to wait 10 minutes. Do you think these people are going to wait for you to call them tomorrow? Pick up the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a total sissy. What am I doing?
You got some strong women in your life.
I needed it. My wife is not normally like that, but she just stood up in that situation. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? As I grab the money phone out of my pocket and I go back to call these people, it's like 8 o'clock at night. A lady calls me named Janie Munson.
Okay.
Literally, as I'm going to call, I get a third lead coming in, and the lady's name is Janie Munson. Janie Munson says, hey, I'm a retiring school teacher. I got to sell my house. I haven't renovated the house in 40 years. And these agents keep telling me that I have to make the house look nice before they'll sell the house. You're an investor. Will you come and meet me at the house? This is how bad I was at this. I go, oh yeah, sure. Can you hold on a second? I got to call my partner. So who do I call on the other phone? I go, hey, Bethany, what do I do? She goes, dude, you go on the freaking appointment. Why are you calling me? Set the appointment. And I go back, hey, Janie, can we set it? Like, I didn't know anything, right? I'm a blue collar contractor. Didn't know what to do, how to do it, et cetera. So I go on the appointment. On my drive there, I text Bethany. I say, hey, what do I pay for the house? I don't know what to pay for the house. She says, she looks up the address, goes online. She goes, do not pay $1 over 150 grand. I go, okay. I have no idea. She goes, stop asking questions. I go, I don't have the 150 grand. She goes, stop asking questions. Go offer 150 grand. Gosh, this lady is like greatest gift of my life, honestly, professionally. I go to the house. I would start talking to Janie, and I get into her kitchen. I go to her dining room table, and she says, like, hey, let's take a seat. Let's chat. And I look around the house. It's obviously single pane windows. Roof is out of date, but I don't bring any of that stuff up. I just really wanted to get to know the lady. And part of me, I just love my school teachers when I grew up. So I was like, oh, you're a school teacher. Tell me all about that. Da, 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 da. We just started building natural rapport, right? And I look at all on her table, and she has like 30 other business cards and postcards and letters from other investors. I'm like, I'm not getting this deal. And I said, the greatest question, which my team now asks this question to every seller we talk to, which is, what's kept you from selling the house? Like, you obviously have other options. What's kept you from selling the house? And she says, well, I have an offer already, but I need more money because this is my last asset and I'm retiring. And I go, what's the offer? And she says, 165 grand. Okay. You're experienced. I'm experienced now. But in that moment, that gap might as well have been like the Grand Canyon. 150 grand to 165. First off, I don't have the 150 grand, let alone the 165. And Bethany told me not to pay $1 over 150. So what do I say? Naturally, I say, I can't help you.
Is that what you said?
I said, I can't help you. I'm so sorry. She goes, is this some sort of sales anchoring thing? I read about this online. You salespeople just anchor low, and then I have to come up and we got to have this battle. I go, no, literally, I cannot offer 165. She goes, well, then give me an offer. I go, I'm not, it's embarrassing. I don't want to give you the offer. So this goes on for 5 minutes. She goes, well, what do we do now? I go, I guess I leave. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle objections. And I think in a lot of ways, it was the best thing for me. So I'm leaving the house, and I stop right in her front door, and I turn to her and I go, is there anything I can do to help you?
You did the Columbo?
The
Columbo?
Yeah, okay.
What? One more thing.
Yeah, kind of. I said, hey, I can't buy your house, but is there anything you need help with? I have dudes that work for me. I have trucks. Do you need help moving? Do you need help loading up your truck? She's like, what are you, a freaking Eagle Scout? I go, yeah, I am an Eagle Scout. And I thought it was funny because my mom, my whole life, she said, you cannot drive and you cannot kiss girls until you get your Eagle Scout. So I got my Eagle Scout. Like, I got my Eagle Scout quickly. And my mom, I go, why is this so important? What the hell is this so important that I get my Eagle Scout? My mom says, one day somebody's going to ask you, do you have your Eagle Scout? And you're going to be able to say yes. Now I'm 30 years old. It's the first time anybody's ever asked me that stupid question. And it came in handy. And she says, oh, okay. So you like really want to help me? I go, yeah, I want to help you. She goes, I have a really weird problem. Do you want to know it? I go, yeah. And she goes, all right, come back in my backyard. She goes to her backyard, and you ever pull up over in a sliding glass door where the wheels are all rickety? Sure. It's like that. Like she's dragging this door to get open. It's an older house, obviously. And we walk in the backyard, and she shows me 3 Flemish bunnies. You ever seen a Flemish bunny before? No. Look it up. If you guys got time, look it up on your phone. They're the size of like a 6-year-old child. They're massive. They look like a 6-year-old child is in a bunny suit. They're massive. And so her granddaughter brought these home years ago. They were this big. They grew into this big. And she says, I can't retire. These things eat like $300 of food every single month. And that would eat in my retirement. I have to get rid of these bunnies. And I haven't found somebody trustworthy and somebody that's not going to basically let these things die. I go, oh, this is easy. I can solve this problem for you in like 2 minutes. She goes, how? I call my mom. And my mom drives up to this house in a red truck I've never seen before. My mom's just super resourceful, just kind of, little religious gangster. And she like borrows somebody's truck from the church. She comes and picks up these 3 bunnies from this lady and she leaves. And Janie's sitting there like, you're still not going to give me an offer. Like, you've been here for an hour and a half. You're still not going to give me an offer. I go, I told you I can't give you the offer. I'm just here to help.
You never even wanted to just say the 150.
Never want. I was too afraid. I was too afraid. So I left, and 2 weeks later, I get a call from Janie. And she calls me up. She goes, hey, as a school teacher, I always gave out homework. I gave myself homework to make a decision today to sell my house. And I made the decision today that I'm selling my house to you.
Because you're a good human being.
She said, I'm like, I can't pay you 165, Janie. I told you. And she's like, I know, whatever your number is, I trust you. And I'm like, well, why? Why? Why do you trust me? She says, 15 people came to my house before you and 15 people came to my house after you. And you are the only person that asked me if you could help me. The only person out of 31 people I met with. I mean, look at all the people that are on her desk. And I call Bethany. I go, what do I do? Where does the money come from? She goes, oh my gosh, she took 150. I go, yeah, she said she'd take 150. So Bethany takes me up there.
So you told her the number when she said,
yep. I said, she goes, what's your number? What would your number be? And I said, I'm around, I didn't even want to say 150. I was like, I'm around 150.
Okay.
Like, I was trying to soften the blow. Like, think about my sales skills back then.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was so afraid of everything. And Bethany and I go up to the house. We sign the contract, and I didn't know how to fill out the contract. Obviously not an agent, not anything. I'd never done a deal before. So we sign a contract, all cash, $150,000. Bethany puts the contract in my name that I'm buying the house. And we leave the house, and I go, how the hell am I going to pay for this house? She goes, oh, that's not the important part. We need to have a conversation. You just learned the greatest lesson of real estate. I'm like, what? She says, everybody got into this lady's living room. You were the only person that actually found her real problem. You got into her backyard and you found her bunnies. You found her problems. And so my logo, bunny ears, reminds me all the time, I'm always looking for the problem. And I've done 7,000 transactions in real estate since then. Never once have I done a deal with somebody that I did not understand their problems at a very, very high level. And I'd love to get into some more intricate ones. Bunnies are like rudimentary, basic stuff.
Sure.
One level above that is a homeowner that's like, I want to move, I need to move, but I need my money now. And I need to rent the house back from you for like 3 months. Most agents or investors don't know that that's even a possibility. Okay, great. I'll do that too. And then I started creating this list of all these cool things that I can do for sellers that other people were not willing to do. And I was finding their bunnies. I was like, why haven't you sold your house yet? And I got addicted to this thing of like, why haven't you sold your house? What can I do that somebody else is not willing to do? So Bethany tells me the greatest lesson you'll ever learn in real estate is that you found the bunnies. And when you're wondering why a deal is going sideways, or you're wondering why a seller is not willing to negotiate with you, it's because you have not found their emotional situation. And this was the greatest lesson I could have ever taught you. And I go, okay. And I didn't realize it until probably the 15th deal I had done that really that was the secret to me finding real estate deals, was finding the bunnies. And she then pulls me aside, and we're in the truck, and she says, okay, so now do you want to know how you're going to make money on this transaction?
Well, how are you going to make money on the transaction? How are you going to complete the transaction?
Yeah. Great question.
I mean, yeah. So that's where I'd be freaking out.
I was freaking out.
I'm on a contract and I have to like come up with $150,000 I don't have.
I have to open up escrow today on the contract with $1,000 EMD. I got $1,000. That's no problem. I can open the contract with earnest money. That's easy. I can do that. I don't know a title company really does at this point. Like I kind of understand, but I've done multiple of my own purchases, but whatever. But how am I going to fulfill on the 150? I've got money in my business, but it's tied up.
Sure.
Like all idiot business owners got all of our money tied up in our business, right?
Right.
And she says, oh my gosh, really? You don't understand what's happening here? I go, no, I have no idea what's happening here.
Why is she helping you?
You'll find out right now.
Okay.
This is how she's helping me. She says, I'm buying the house from you at 175. And I go, okay, but I don't have the 150 to close and then resell to you. She goes, no, oh my gosh, you're so dumb. You have a contract. I'm buying that contract from you for 25 grand higher than your contract. So I'm like, I don't have to close on the 150. She goes, no, I will close at 175 and the title company will send Janie the 150 the day we close. You will keep 25 grand.
So you spent your 5,000, you turned it into 25,000 and you got all these lessons.
I got all these lessons.
But you didn't know at the time.
I had no idea
That there was somebody ready to buy that.
I had no idea.
That contract.
She sold the house for like 425 grand.
Did she?
She flipped it. But here's how messed up my mindset was. Remember, I'm her contractor. She's helping me. Why is she helping me? Because she wants a gopher. She wants somebody to go find deals for her, right? She wants bird dogs. Okay. So it's like the same thing with network marketing. Like, why would you help somebody in your downline? Well, because you want them to go and compound. Right. Like there's financial benefit. So I was basically in her downline. She was creating me as a bird dog to go get more deals.
Right.
And I was more excited about this other thing than the 25 grand. You would have thought like, oh my gosh, I learned how to find deals. I learned about bunnies. I learned that I can fill out contracts, and I learned that I don't have to come up with the 150 to sell it to her for 175.
So long as you had somebody like her.
Of course, a buyer, right?
If you didn't have somebody like her, you'd have to find one.
Correct. Yeah, correct. And what was I more excited about though? This tells you how messed up my mindset was.
The 25 grand that you put in your pocket?
No, I was more excited about, oh my gosh, Bethany, you have another house that I can flip for you. I was more excited about being the blue collar guy on the transaction
to go like fix the roof.
Yes. Yes. Trade my time for money. And so she's like, oh no, you are fired from being my contractor. You will never touch another one of my houses. You just learned the golden ticket, which is how to find a real estate transaction. Where does the lead come from? How do you set the appointment? How do you do this? How do you blah, blah, blah? Here's the contract. And how do you assign that contract to somebody like me who can make 25 grand? Why would you ever be a contractor again?
Well, it's more money. There's extra money.
At the time in my construction company, though, I didn't learn. I hadn't.
How much money would you make in that? If you would have taken that project and done all the
let's do a calculation.
Reconstruction.
I put 7 hours of work into the 25 grand I made. So that took 7 grand. I was making 3 grand an hour essentially on that.
Yep.
But when I'm working my construction company, I'm making like $400 an hour. So it's literally 1/8 the amount of throughput, and it's way harder dealing with construction.
And you had to learn how to delegate, because if you did have a crew, you could double dip.
Correct. You could double dip. And I thought that's what I want to do. She's like, no. Get your ass out there and go find me another deal. And I found her 2 more deals that month, and I made another 25 grand.
Through the same exact process. Okay.
The save 5 grand. So that 5 grand I sent gave me 20 leads. Out of those 20 leads, I got 3 cash contracts, and I made $50,000 in assignment fees on those contracts. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. This is where everything changed for me. If this wasn't good enough, this is what everybody knows me for, is this next thing.
Okay. I have so many limiting beliefs going in my head right now.
I love it.
But
tell me all of them.
Please continue with your story, and then I'll get to my limiting beliefs.
I love it. Cool. So I have to open up escrow on all 3 of these contracts, right? In order for us to start the transaction, assign them to Bethany. Bethany then buys the deals for me, et cetera. And I meet this other lady. Her name is Eileen Brown. Eileen is the escrow officer that we opened escrow with. And she's like, oh, I've never seen you before. I was like, I guess I'm new to the business. She's like, amazing. I've been in the business for 41 years. Tell me about what you're doing. I go, I just spent money. I got these leads. I got these 20 leads that came in. I closed 3 contracts. She goes, why so little? I go, well, because the other 17 people I talked to did not have equity, or they wanted too much money. So there's no way I could help them. She's, oh no, you should have doubled your amount of contracts. She's the escrow officer, by the way. And I go, what do you mean? How can I help somebody that doesn't have equity? How can there's no meat on the bone for my flipper. There's no meat on the bone for me. She goes, have you ever heard of Subject 2? This is what everybody knows me for. I go, no, I've never heard of that. And she says, it's the process of taking over somebody else's payments that doesn't have equity, but they have a really good interest rate. I go, yeah, but I don't have credit. She goes, no, you don't need credit. I go, I don't have like a W-2 to apply. She goes, no, you're not applying for these loans. I will transfer the deed from the homeowner to you, and you can just take over people's payments. I'm like, what you're telling me sounds like the biggest scam I've ever heard. You're telling me that the 17 other people that I could not help out of my 20 leads I got this month, you're telling me I could go back to the people that did not have equity and I could just take over their payments? She says, yes, it's so simple that you're going to try and overcomplicate it. Yes. I'm like, well, then what would I do with the house? She goes, you could rent it out for a higher dollar amount than what your payment is. Like, why am I having to explain this to you? And she explains that to me. I go back to my 17 leads. I close 4 out of the 17 leads on seller finance or subject to. And since that, I've built a portfolio of $500 million wherein I've not had my credit pulled one time. I've not gone to a bank.
What does that mean by having your credit pulled?
When you got a construction loan for this house, did you have somebody pull your credit?
Uh-huh.
I have not had my credit pulled. I have not gone to a bank. I have not asked for a loan in 7,000 transactions.
What?
Right. This is what everybody knows me for.
So you have to explain.
Okay, perfect.
How do we get there?
Okay.
Because like, look, okay.
Give me all your limiting beliefs. I want to hear them all.
I have a million of them.
Okay.
First of all, if somebody has a low interest rate and they want to get out of the house and you're just going to take over the payments, they're just walking away from a payment. Why couldn't they just rent the house?
Homeowners don't want to be tenant or deal with tenants. They don't know the first thing. I didn't know the first thing about renting houses either even when I was a contractor. They don't know how to be a landlord.
So they'd rather just walk away.
Yeah. I mean, here, I have an email actually I just got a couple of days ago. I've got an agent that says, hey, I can't sell this house. The seller has no money, or the seller has no equity. And when we keep getting offers, the seller's going to have to write $5,000, $10,000 worth of checks to get rid of the house. And what's my question? My question to that agent is, what's the interest rate? Okay. And the agent says the interest rate's 2.5%. I go, great. Can I reduce your commissions to like 1.5? I'll pay your commissions and I'll take over the payments. The seller's paying me 10 grand to take over their house because they were going to pay 20 grand to sell it on a cash transaction. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this is happening a lot. This happens all the time. Think about
so they had no equity in the
equity, yeah.
house.
And let's talk about what equity really is, because a lot of people don't know what equity really is.
But before you go, yeah. Isn't the big trend right now the people being proud of the fact that they have these low interest rates?
Yeah, people with good jobs.
They're not going to give up that low interest rate, so they're going to hold on to that because that's a rentable thing. That's an asset that can't be replaced. If somebody had to try and replace it at 7% or whatever people are having to pay now, that's one of my limiting beliefs.
I love it. Okay, cool. So let's talk about how many foreclosures are going on in the country right now.
No idea.
Hundreds of thousands, 700,000.
And here's the thing. I have a brother who came down and stayed with me here and had an investor who, gave him $1 million, kind of line of credit, said, go find houses, and he had this last year, had the most difficult time ever trying to find a house and he's in construction, so kind of like you. Yeah. So he can do all the stuff. He's kind of trying to figure out because he's painting drywall, that kind of stuff. But there was all these people who are willing to overpay for the house, what it was worth. There was people lined up. These things were sitting in probate, and you didn't know what you were getting 6 months down the road. There was people auctioning and getting 14 bids on the same property.
Does all he want to do is flip?
He was just looking to figure out a way to make money
easy.
in real estate.
This is so easy. If I tell you the answer to this, you're going to call your brother and tell him how stupid he is.
Well, it starts with me. I'm stupid.
It's not, maybe not stupid. It's just uneducated.
Yeah.
Right? So right now, if you go to keyglee.com, Keyglee, like happiness, key, like key to a door, keyglee.com. If you go to keyglee.com and go to Vegas, there's probably 40 houses right now that are already off market contracted. So remember, I was a bird dog for Bethany, right? Mm-hmm. Do you know how many bird dogs are around the country right now that's all they do? They knock doors, they negotiate foreclosures, they deal with expired listings. They're the people out there finding deals and just going, hey, pay me 10 grand, I'll give you the deal. Do you know how many there are out there?
No.
About 700,000 people around the country.
That are just bird dogging?
So all they're doing is bird dogging.
What?
Go to keyglee.com, go to investorlift.com, go to landwatch.com, go to those 3 websites. And if you can't find a deal in 4 minutes, you're not negotiating with a seller. You're Bethany.
Right.
Because somebody was already paced in that situation. They went to the seller, they got the lead, they talked to the seller and go, hey, let me find your problem. You're in foreclosure? No problem. I can help you out. They get under contract and they go, hey, who's willing to pay the price of this contract plus $20,000 for my finder's fee? There's thousands of those already locked up and online right now, ready for your brother to deploy the capital. He doesn't need to go and bid on anything. There's houses that are already, like if I pull up Keegley.com right now and I go to Vegas, this is how funny this is. You don't know what you don't know, right?
100%.
So Keegley.com, one of my buddies owns this. They're the largest wholesaler. So what I was doing with Bethany is called wholesaling. Okay. I would get something under contract and I would wholesale it at a higher price, right? Basically what Amazon does with everything that we buy from Amazon. They buy it at a lower price. They wholesale it to us, right? So Keegley.com, I don't have good internet in here, but if you go there and you click on Vegas, I bet you there's 40 houses right now that your brother could pick and choose from. Like, oh, I like that area. All he does is call the pace in the situation, go, hey, I like your price. Will you drop it like $5,000? I'll buy it today. He doesn't have to talk to the agent, have to talk to the seller because that was already done. It's already contracted and sitting at a title company waiting for him to wire his money. Like that's how easy this business is.
All right.
Fixing and flipping, if that's what he wants to do.
Is there margin anymore in that?
Of course. The average margin on a fix and flip is like $50,000 net. Yep. Before taxes, but yeah.
What about this story that I keep hearing that BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard, they're buying up everything and they're taking all the inventory and they're making it very difficult for the average.
Who do you think is feeding the deals to them?
No idea.
Me. My people. The 700,000 people, they don't know how to communicate with a seller directly. Where are these deals coming from? They're coming from wholesalers. Wholesalers, like there's a company called Colony. There's a company called Invitation Homes. These are massive REITs that nobody hears about, way bigger than, not bigger, but they're the companies that Blackstone comes in and buys. So Invitation Homes comes to people like me and goes, we have no idea how to find these deals. You guys find the deals and just send them to our portal. So
you got bird dogs who go to small aggregators, who go to bigger aggregators, who go to BlackRock.
There you go. So the people on the street, so you saw me this morning on a hike, right?
Yep.
Those are bird dogs. Those people come to me and go, I want to be direct to the seller. I want to go to the seller who's in foreclosure. I want to go to the seller that's in probate. And I want to go directly to them and negotiate with them and figure out how to solve their problem.
Right. Interesting.
Okay. Our community, the sub-2 community, did $5 billion in transactions last year, direct to seller. Where do we send those?
Explain that.
Direct to seller means I'm going to the homeowner. We did $5 billion in transactions.
Who's we?
The people I went hiking with, all the people that I teach how to do this.
All right.
Okay.
So they did $5 billion worth of transactions.
Yeah.
My next limiting belief is
they'll never hit the MLS.
Okay.
None of these ever. We're not working with agents. We're not going through brokerages. We're going direct to seller, and then we're going to.
How are you finding the sellers?
Oh my gosh, 1,000 different ways. Let's go through them. So foreclosure. How do I find a foreclosure? I could go to foreclosures.
Why wouldn't they list if they're in foreclosure?
Oh my word, this is so good. You're in the retail world. I'm in the investor world. If I took you on an appointment and I sat you in one of these homeowners' houses, okay, I could give you 50 reasons why they did not list. A lot of times they did list and it didn't sell. That's called an expired listing. Do you know how many expired listings we have in the country every day?
No.
Okay, what's an expired listing? Let's talk about that for a second. An expired listing is when an agent lists a property and for 6 months they cannot sell the house. Is it in our limited inventory world? Do you think that's even possible that we would even have one expired listing in the country? How is that even possible?
Well, obviously it is. How many?
15,000 a day.
Really?
15,000 real estate agents, Eric, get fired every effing day. They get fired, not just, hey, after a week, you're not doing a good job. An expired listing means an agent couldn't sell that house for 6 months. Every day in my market, Phoenix area, 40 a day, 40 a day. 40 sellers get so sick and tired of their agent after 6 months, they go, you're fired. And the listing goes expired. How do I know it goes expired? Because it's public record. I get a list from a company called Vulcan 7. I don't own the company. I don't get paid from them. Vulcan 7 feeds the data to us. It's 2024. I can find out what you wore in your gym 14 years ago, right? Like the data is there. It's the same thing with you guys in your business. Like, how do I find people that might want to do this? Well, there's data, right? So expired listings are one of the greatest. If a seller hired an agent and that agent wasn't able to sell the house for 6 months, and there's 15,000 of these a day, I didn't say a year. I said 15,000 a day. What's that seller going through? Is that seller was already motivated to sell the house, hired a licensed professional. By the way, do you know how long it takes for agents hate me, by the way. So if you guys are an agent, I'm so sorry. But how long do agents go to school versus let's go to a barber? How long does a barber have to go to school to get a license to cut your hair?
It's quite a while.
1,200 hours.
Yeah.
1,200 hours to cut your freaking hair. How many hours to sell your largest asset?
Like
90 hours.
90 hours. I got my real estate license, I don't know, 40 years ago.
Right. Did you actually learn anything about real estate in that class?
Nothing I can remember.
Nothing you're going to remember, right? So these agents are listing houses. They don't know how to sell a house. Okay. They have no idea. The agents that make money are the 1%. We call them the unicorn agents. They understand creative finance. They understand seller finance. They understand
build big teams, all that.
They build sometimes depending on their appetite, but some of them are solo and they're badasses. They're just amazing. But the 99% of agents are what I call undercover agents. They have a job as a school teacher and then they do 2 listings a year.
Right. But even the pro agents, and there's a couple network marketing companies or several network marketing companies that are just built on the real estate model. Yeah. They're still kind of trading time for money.
Yep.
Out doing their thing.
Being an agent is a job.
But what you can do is take the cash flow from that and you can put it into real estate that'll work for you.
Correct. Yeah. So I could talk about this for hours for you to truly understand this.
Yes. And please excuse my complete novice
I love
approach.
it because it means that somebody else that was watching.
I don't know anything about this, so I am speaking like the average person who's like, so this seems too complicated. This seems I'm going to get ripped off.
It is complicated.
Like I have to trust have to have a lot of trust. This seems like it's going to distract me from my core business.
Yeah, I don't think most people should get into what I'm doing. That's I'll get to that.
Okay.
But like what your network marketers should not learn how to do what I'm doing.
But they can invest somehow.
They should partner with people that are buying real estate, right? Like, when you built your studio, your Warrior Studios down there, you just went and researched camera equipment and all the right stuff, and you just figured it out and you're entirely yourself, right?
Well, my wife did, yes.
Okay, but you didn't find a partner that maybe knew more than you guys do that came in and you hired the right team to do the right thing?
No, we had several teams.
Okay, so it's the same thing with doing anything. If I want to get into real estate, I just partner or collaborate with the person that knows 10 things more than I do.
We had the vision.
There you go. Right? So if you went to a real estate investor like me and you said, hey, I make 300 grand a year that I'm basically just giving to the IRS.
Right.
I would rather put that somewhere else in real estate. Where should I put it? There's 20 things that we could talk about where they could go. But I want to hammer home like any of your limiting beliefs, because that means somebody else has these limiting beliefs. The amount of opportunities there are for people to do off market, taking over people's payments, seller finance type of deals. I have not even told you the greatest parts of it. I'm not just doing single family. Like we've got a property. We just closed $20 million purchase. Okay, think about this. Let's say you own, not you, poor example, but let's say you've got a guy that owned a couple of quickie marts, a couple of gas stations his whole life, and a CPA goes to him and says, hey dude, like you're paying a lot of active income taxes. We need to deploy money into offset this. You should go buy real estate. These are what we call tired landlords. Okay, so what they do is they go buy 20 units, or they buy 100 units, or they buy whatever to offset their taxes, but they have no business managing real estate. Real estate's not easy. Is network marketing easy? No. Nothing worth your time is going to be easy. So these business owners go deploy capital into real estate that they don't know how to manage. They manage this for 10, 15 years. They freaking hate it. And then the property goes up in value. Their loan gets paid down a little bit and they go, I want to sell this thing. But when they sell it, what's their problem? There's a couple of major problems when they sell this piece of real estate.
Well,
capital gains.
Or they have to redeploy it.
Or here's something that we haven't talked about. Man, some of your audience is going to either love this or they're going to be like, I'm so confused by this. But when I buy real estate, I don't pay taxes. Correct. Why? Because the IRS gives me this incentive called depreciation. This incentive says, hey, Pace, Eric, we, the government, we have no idea how to solve the affordability problem in the United States. We are going to give you tax incentives to go buy real estate. If you buy enough real estate, we will wipe out all your active income. That's what the IRS does. However, if I take that tax write-off on that asset and then I go and sell it, guess what I have to do? I have to pay that tax benefit back. It's called depreciation recapture. I'm keeping this simple for your audience as much as I can. Some CPAs on here is like, oh, he's not telling all this stuff.
And what's the term If you roll it into the next thing.
So this is what most people go, oh, well, you know what?
We've done this with airplanes. It's the only reason.
Right. Because if you sell your airplane, you get kicked in the face.
Right.
Like, wait, hold on. All the tax benefits that I got on that asset, I have to now pay those back. Oh, well, you know what you have to do? You have to 1031 into a larger plane.
Right.
You can't go to a smaller plane.
Right.
You have to go up.
Right.
And so now you have more management. You have a higher level pilot. So think about that from a real estate perspective.
Can you go lateral? Can you go to
you have to go to a larger asset. Why? Because that asset has to have the ability to gobble up the tax benefits that you took.
Even if it's just a small increase.
Yeah.
So in real estate, if you have this
1031 exchange, yeah.
A 1031 exchange. So you have a piece of real estate, you decide you're going to sell it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And there's a profit there. Or whether there's a profit or not, you'd already had some tax benefit.
Yep, you took your tax benefit. You kept your active income.
If you don't take the proceeds from the sale, and you have a certain amount of time, right?
90 days, yeah.
90 days to put it into a new entity.
Larger asset.
Larger asset. Could it be a fund, or does it have to be an actual?
It can be a fund, yes, but yes, it can be a fund, yes.
Is there a way to be able to keep the tax benefit when you do that? Or
yes.
Does it have to be a physical individual asset to individual asset?
It's complicated, but the better way to do it is to do it from that to an individual asset.
Okay.
So I have a buddy right now, he has 2 planes. He hates both of them because, we
love ours.
You probably use yours a lot, right?
Yeah, we do.
So he looks at it and he's like, my cost is $250,000 a month.
Plus we charter it when we don't use it.
Which is smart. And you must have a really good chartering company because most of them suck.
Yeah.
Right. Most of our friends that are chartering their planes, like I'm talking to a good friend of both of ours, has this amazing plane. He's like, I stopped chartering it because it wasn't making the money they said it was going to make. They lied to you. And then my plane is in maintenance all the time. So when I want to use it, I can't use it. Right. So it's like this thing that I got saved money on taxes. I'm going to sell it. Crap. Now, when I sell this plane, I got all these tax implications. This sucks. You guys have obviously been there. So think about being a real estate investor that maybe you were a network marketer and you started buying assets because you're like, oh, real estate is passive. No, it's not. Real estate is not passive. Real estate, you have active human beings coming in and out of these houses all day long, damaging them. It's anything but passive. You have to have a management team and structure. So when you don't have a management team, guess what happens to these assets? It deteriorates. But what's going on is these properties appreciate in value and your mortgage gets paid down, which are these amazing benefits. A smart real estate investor, what we do is we refinance all that cash out and we redeploy it, right? But we have teams, we have people, we have intelligent people. People smarter than me are on my team, obviously.
Right.
Okay. So what happens is these small mom and pop investors, which is like 85% of the owners of real estate in the United States, they go, wait, I want to retire. If they own a 20-unit apartment complex, or let's talk about the one I did in Tucson. The one I did in Tucson, the guy was a builder, a lot of active income. He says, I know what I'll do. I'll build a 160-unit apartment complex, and then I'll get the tax benefits from that. Cool. He owns it for 30 years. He goes to his kids and goes, hey, do you guys want this? They go, no, Dad, just get rid of we don't want to do it. We're off on our own careers. He goes, okay, great. I'll list it on the market. What most sellers are doing, oh my gosh, we could talk about this for hours. What most sellers are doing is they get to the point where they go, I want to retire and I want as much money as I possibly can. So they list the property way more than what the property is worth. And the buyer, what's the buyer doing? The buyer has to buy that property based on current interest rates.
Yeah.
I don't. I've never, ever cared what the Fed is doing.
No, you have to explain this.
I'm going to get there.
That's my other limiting belief is like the interest rates are too high. So this is really bad time.
My average interest, I get, you know how many 0 down, 0% seller finance deals I get?
It's going to depress me, but go ahead.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's probably 10% of the deals I do, I get 0% interest. And I'll go through a couple examples. So, and by the way, on my YouTube channel for the people.
It sounds like a magic trick is what
it is magic. Like. Every time I talk about it, it sounds like a scam.
I'm not saying a scam.
I am. When I first heard it, I'm like,
I know too many people who are very smart and are very conservative that have figured out this magic trick.
Yeah.
And they love it so much.
It's crazy.
I have a friend of mine who has a $2 billion dental management practice.
Damn. Does he have a plane?
Yes. And 16,000 employees and the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But you know what he enjoys the most?
Real estate.
The $300 or $400 million he's got in real estate. He just loves the real estate side of things.
Because the best employee you'll ever have is a tenant that doesn't know who you are. That's like one of my slogans. It's like the best employee I have, 600 employees. I'm not as big as that guy, but I have 600 employees. But the best employee I have are my tenants that don't even know my name.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. Can I keep going through my limiting beliefs?
I want to tell you the story.
Please tell me the story. Okay. Then I have some more limiting beliefs.
Love it.
And then I want you to give me a roadmap.
Okay, cool. So this guy builds this apartment complex, 160 units in Tucson. He owns it for 30 years. He's now time for him to retire. It's cash flowed. He's got it paid off, all that stuff. The market value of this thing's probably 18 million. Okay. But what does he do? He lists it for 20 million because that's what you do when you're trying to retire. Just like you do your plane or anything else. If you want to sell something, you're like, what's its value? Okay, let's list it a little bit higher. We have a little bit of a bidding war. He hires a broker. The broker's like, okay, great. I'll put it on the market to see what we can get. 6 months later, still hasn't sold. 9 months later, still hasn't sold. People are bidding him at 17 million, 16.5. So it becomes now an expired listing. That's when my team gets involved.
How much did he owe on this property?
Nothing. He's on this one.
He owned it free and clear.
In this example.
So I think I know where this one's going.
This one's
my limited belief, my limited understanding.
I have most of what I do, probably 80% of what I do, there's debt involved and I'm taking over their debt.
Yeah. This one has no debt. And the listing expired. Your team gets involved.
Right. So my team calls and gets a hold of the seller. The seller says, we tell the seller, we go, hey, it looks like you listed the property for 20. We'd be willing to come up to that number if you were willing to give us terms. And the seller says, what's terms? We go, well, seller finance. You let us make payments to you over time. Seller says, why would I do that? Well, when you understand seller finance, you would ask the question, why would you not do seller finance? Why? Because you can avoid the 1031 exchange. You don't have to, because he's now going to sell this and he's going to have to go find something else or just take the tax hit and be done. But in seller finance, we can structure it where over a 10-year period, we can mitigate your capital gains tax. We can mitigate
How does the capital gains get mitigated over a 10-year period?
I love it. So you only get taxed on money you receive. You don't get taxed on money you sell. If I sell my business to you, but I don't receive any money until next month, I only pay tax on the money I receive.
Well, but next month I'd have to pay it.
Yeah, you would have to pay it based on that dollar amount. However, when you're a business owner, do you not have other write-offs?
Yes. Okay,
so couldn't you use the write-offs against the smaller amount of money you received that year?
Okay.
So that's what they do.
So you figure out a way to balance
it. So you get our CPA calls their CPA and says, okay, let's look at his other write-offs. And as he receives the payments over the next 10 years, we can structure it a way where his other write-offs can wipe out any of the capital gains he'll receive over those 10 years.
Okay, so you stretch it out. He ends up getting his goal accomplished.
He gets his goal accomplished. Now here's the best part. He now charges us interest. So where the hell is he going to put his money? The guy wants to retire. What's the safest thing to put your money in?
Something you own. I mean,
real estate. The only thing.
Safest place to be able to
invest,
to take interest on is something that you kind of
have a vested interest in.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what
the guy's owned the asset. He knows the asset for 30 plus years.
Sure,
he knows how it's performed. He knows how the area's grown.
It's not a mystery.
It's not a mystery for him. So what's he going to do? Let's say we give him $20 million. This is what's going to happen. If I give him $20 million in cash, which he couldn't get that anyway, but let's say I give him $17 million, which is the bids, he's going to pay broker fees. He's going to pay closing costs. He's going to pay his capital gains tax, any of the depreciation recapture he might have in that situation. He might walk away with 11 million bucks. Cool. Mm-hmm. So a guy that's, let's say 74 years old has $11 million. What's he going to do with that to keep that safe when inflation's at 7%, 6%, 5%? He's going to put it in the stock market? Is that guaranteed? F the stock market. It's a freaking scam. It's not certain. It's not guaranteed. What is guaranteed? The only thing guaranteed on this planet that I've ever ran into, real estate. Or yourself, you putting your effort into a business. That's guaranteed. You, me. But what if I die? Is my wife going to take over my other businesses, my cleaning businesses, my other things that I own? No. Those things are going to slowly deteriorate. We'll probably sell them to somebody else that can take them over. But the one thing that's certain, the one thing that's guaranteed, scientifically, historically proven, real estate is the only guarantee.
So the interest rate, like what interest rate
would you
pay this person?
We gave him 5%. So he's making 5%. That doesn't sound like a lot.
Well, but he also got the higher price.
He got that. Gosh, you got it. He avoided real estate agents. He avoided the hit on all those commissions. He got his full $20 million. He avoided capital gains tax. He avoided his depreciation recapture, and he's getting a 5% interest rate. But is 5% truly 5% in this situation? We're getting into the weeds, which I love. Do you know how an amortization schedule works? Like your house, do you have a loan on this house?
Small.
Okay. So, but your interest in the front end, it's mostly interest for the first 10 years, right?
Right. Yeah.
Then the back end is like mostly principal. So what you're doing is you're taking this 5% interest and you're jamming it all into the first 10 years. So your effective interest rate is more like 12, 13%. So even though this guy's charging us 5% interest on this, his effective rate of return on those first 10 years is closer to 12 freaking percent. Where else is he going to get 12% return on a guaranteed asset that he understands for 35 plus years?
See, you went a place that I didn't think you were going to go. Where I thought you were going to go is if he wanted to retire, he could just refinance his property.
He could do that.
Take the cash out and not have to pay tax because it's a loan.
He could go that route, but that's for a high level operator.
Is that what some people do?
Kiyosaki, Ken McElroy, people I look up. Like my number one person I'm chasing is Ken McElroy. I love him. He's one of my mentors. He's got $9 billion in real estate. That's what they do. But they've got a team of 42 people. These
that are constantly refinancing.
Yeah, and managing tenants.
And they're living off of the loans, essentially.
They're living on the loans. Like if Ken McElroy wants to buy a new plane.
Because that's not income.
It's not income, it's debt. And what's magical about that is guess who's paying off the debt?
The tenants.
The tenant, your best employee.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing is you accumulate $20 million. Last time we did a big cash out refinance, it was in 2019. I got like $7 million. Just do a big cash out refinance. I do that, but that's not what homeowners or that's not what small mom and pop investors are doing. They don't understand it.
So back to your and we're bouncing around, but hey, sorry,
we're
podcast listener,
you're
going to have to live in my head because I'm trying to learn. And if you're more sophisticated, then you need to go someplace else or go to Pace's cool stuff.
Go to my YouTube channel. It's free.
Yes. He's got all his cool stuff.
By the way, on my YouTube channel, for people that are like, I want to see examples.
Yeah.
Every house I buy, every apartment building I buy, every RV park I buy, I give the address, I give the settlement statements, and I give you guys all the documents to show you that all of this is 100% real. I bring my CPA on, my attorney on. It seems like a scam much.
Like I say, I would think the same if I didn't know
other people,
real billionaires, real and conservative people, very conservative people.
Yeah.
I have another friend of mine who's big in farming.
Yeah.
And in farming, I think he has, 100,000 acres or something.
Crazy.
The principle there is buy land, never sell.
Yeah.
Ever. For the rest of all humankind.
Yeah.
And you live off either the rent or the cash flow of
a land lease or something,
or the land lease, or you can borrow against it.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Yeah.
But that's their whole principle, which is kind of similar.
It's very similar. Yeah.
But you have to have a big operation in order to be able to do that.
And that's the problem where a lot of people, so when I was first getting into the game and I would take over people's payments. Okay. So like most of the time I'm getting 3%, 4% interest rates. My average when I take over somebody else's debt, it's like 2.9%. I'm taking houses over in Hawaii. I've got houses on the beach in Hawaii. My personal house, my house in Montana, I bought a $3.7 million Montana mansion with 20 acres, $1 down. Why? The seller wants to avoid taxes, right? And we structured it in a way that he could avoid taxes. Genius. Benefits me, benefits him. But the smaller people that are like, I'm in foreclosure and I've got a 2-point-something% interest rate. When people are like, oh, well, all these people with great rates, they don't want to let them go. Okay, you tell that to the single mom that her husband just died, or let's tell that to the person who had 2 incomes in their house and now they have 1 and they're losing their house.
All right. So
they have no choice.
I get it. So I've got to get back to
reality.
Nope. Your $20 million story.
Yeah.
I understand probably not all of them, but a lot of the benefits to the seller.
Yeah, I found 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
19 benefits to that seller. He got a higher price, got interest rate.
Avoided
he
agents.
Avoided agents. He avoided commissions. He avoided title. He avoided, whatever, 19 things.
Yeah. It's a safer investment for him to have his money tied up in that than it is to go put it anywhere else.
Right. What's the benefit to you?
I don't have to go through a bank. I don't have to raise a bunch of money.
I understand, but you overpaid for a property.
I didn't overpay.
Well, you paid $2 million more than the market was willing to pay.
No, I didn't.
What do
I
you
put
mean?
it down on paper that I was going to pay it over a longer period of time.
I understand, but you took on a bigger obligation.
Okay, yeah, that's legit.
Okay, and now you have payments on this.
Mm-hmm.
You have to figure out a tenant. You have to figure
Tenants
out.
are already there. It's occupied. The property was occupied at 94%.
Okay, so was it cash flowing at the time?
It was, and it still is. Yeah.
Okay, so the benefit was you ended up with a hopefully appreciating asset.
Yep.
You were able to pick up the depreciation.
Yep.
You were able to
think about that, $20 million in depreciation.
$20 million. I understand. You
Yeah.
know, when you have a big airplane, you understand those numbers.
These are the things that rich people are like, how do I get rid of my taxes?
Yeah. So how like what kind of cash flow did this what was the risk profile on this property as far as like if it went bad, what could have?
Well, let's talk about what does that look like? What does bad look like?
Something happened and now you're at 70% occupancy or something.
Okay, yeah, that happens. I've had assets that's happened. We have an asset in North Carolina, went from like 91% to like 81%. We had a voucher program that was going on with the tenants where it was like a COVID voucher and it ran out in the middle of it. And we had 10% of our people stop paying their payments because they were bad tenants. They were having to live on vouchers. That happens all the time. But by that time you're stabilized, you understand the risk when you're getting into that thing. We knew that risk when we got into that deal. This deal, you go through all the tenants.
What was the cash flow? You know, what was your net on this property?
The net on that property is probably
just on cash flow,
34 grand a month net.
So you're making like, $400,000 a year,
right?
Something like that.
On one asset, yeah.
On one asset, you didn't put any dollars down, really.
Nope.
He ends up with 19 benefits.
Yep.
You end up with how many? Did you count how many you got?
It's endless. I mean, think about it depends on what I do with the property over time, right? It's infinite return. Think like, where's my?
Is this an apartment building or what?
160 unit apartment building. Yeah.
Do you have a bias of single family versus multifamily?
I think everybody should start in single family. I think.
Really?
Yep.
I've
At
always
your
heard,
level, different.
Yeah, I've heard the
very
opposite.
different. Your level different, right? People that come to me and go, I want to change my life. I have a 9-to-5 job. I make $50,000 a year. Where should I start? I go, do not get into multifamily because multifamily is not real estate. Multifamily is a business.
Sure.
You've got human beings that work in the leasing office. Do you know how to manage human beings and their job and company culture? Do you know how to do marketing? No, I don't know how to do that stuff. Then stay away from multifamily. You don't know anything about business. Single family is very, very simple. I take over somebody's payments at $1,600. I rent it out for $2,300. Simple. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Right. There's software that does all this stuff for you. Finds your tenants. There's property management companies. You could throw a rock and hit a property management company. The resources and abundance of those resources in single family is ridiculous. You have title companies that'll help you. You have lenders that'll help you. Go, Pace, I don't have any money. I want to flip a house. Go to myinvestorloan.com. They'll freaking fund all your stuff. You don't need credit. No, you don't. It's like all these things.
What? I mean, come on.
I don't know a single flipper that flips more than 2 houses a year that uses any of his own money. Not one. And I would love in your comments for somebody to go, I'm one of those flippers. And I'd say, then you're a dolphin because you're not really a flipper. You're the flipper, the dolphin, not flipper, that home. I don't know one. I don't know one out of thousands of people I've met. I don't know one home flipper that uses their own money.
Really?
Why would they?
Bigger margin? I don't know.
No, not really. I mean, think about what's the cost to borrow money on a fix and flip? 10%. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm saying my own money is only as valuable as 10% interest. Couldn't I use my money to go deploy it somewhere else and make way more money than 10%? Buying a business or deploying it into a freaking studio business that I built?
Yeah. Do you have an effective rate of return that you've averaged?
On what?
On your portfolio?
My portfolio is nearly infinite. Think about it. I'm putting very little money down, if any. A lot of the deals I'm putting down. So if I buy
you haven't dealt with a bank one time on any of these?
Not one time.
7,000 properties.
I have done 7,000 transactions. I have 2,000 doors in my portfolio. The other 5,000 transactions, a lot of times I will find a deal where I'm taking over somebody's mortgage. I go, I don't want this house anymore. And I'll assign it to one of my students for 10 grand and I'll take a $10,000 finder's fee.
Right.
So yeah, never used a bank, never walked into a bank, never applied for a loan. Right now, we have a deal where we're refinancing a deal that we bought on seller finance 5 years ago. And the seller asked us, hey, I'll give you a 5-year balloon. I want you to refinance me in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the bank to refi, and the bank is like, you don't have any loans in your name. You need a cosigner. Somebody with $500 million in real estate in their name and 350 million of that is debt. I cannot go get a loan right now from a traditional institution because I don't have the track history to go get a loan.
That's hilarious.
It's crazy.
But who cares?
Why do I care? Now, I went and got Molly, my chief of operations. She's the one that came in and is like, oh, I'll co-sign for the thing and blah, 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 blah. But for me, I don't have a single mortgage in none of my names, not my wife's name, not any of my LLC's names. I don't have any loans in any of my company's names. I'm either taking over somebody's existing loan or the seller's giving me seller finance.
All right.
You name an ad. You tell me, want me to show you addresses.
I'm not skeptical.
It's crazy.
No, I'm not skeptical. I'm just trying to figure out like, okay.
How do you do this?
Yeah. I just want to jump in and say, I hope you're getting value from everything that we do at the Excellence Project. And if you do, make sure to follow us on all the social platforms. If you look up Eric Worre or the Excellence Project, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, everywhere where you get your content on social media. Find us over there. We'll continue the conversation. Back to the podcast. Because like take a young family that would like to buy a home.
Okay.
And maybe their credit sucks or they can afford $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
For a house payment.
How about take a
what would you suggest they do step by step in order to spend the least amount of money and have a nice house?
I built it for them. I saw and it's free for them. It's free. So think about a network marketer making $100,000 a year net take home their first year, maybe $150,000, but it's 1099 income, right?
Yep.
How do I go get a loan with 1099 income in my first year? Every lender wants me to have how many years of track history?
3.
Oh, well, that sounds great. So you're going to go ask Big Daddy Bank if you can go get money? Kiss my ass. I'm going to go directly to the seller, or I'm just going to take over somebody's mortgage. Pace, how do I do that? I have a Facebook group where I have 20,000 of my students pouring deals into that Facebook group. It's called Creative Finance with Pace Morby. There's an average of, I think, 400 deals posted in there every day that do not require a single bank approval, do not require credit check, do not require any DTI calculation. DTI is debt to income ratio. But people go, well, you only make 15,000 on paper and you're writing off all this other amount. We can't give you any more loans. Okay. Get a seller to seller finance it to you, or go to take over somebody's payments. Go to Creative Finance with Pace Morby. It's a free Facebook group. You'll go in there and there's deals going in there all the time.
And you can just go figure out a deal.
Right now, if you pulled it up on your screen right now, it would take you less than 30 seconds to find a deal.
And how do you find one like in your location? Can you figure that out?
That's a little more challenging. Where like we're gonna pivot to like a Kajabi community thing where you can have channels where it's like by state. Right now it's like you have to like it's a Facebook group and it's free. So I didn't want to have like too much resources poured into it. So I was like, so I built that 5 years ago when I saw a hole in the market where my students are like, I want to sell these deals. I don't want to keep them. I just want a finder's fee. I found the sub 2 deal, or sub 2 means taking over the payments. I want to take over the payments and I want to get paid a finder's fee.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's, you have buddies that buy businesses.
Yeah.
Okay. Alex Ramosi does this all the time in businesses. So think about if a business has an SBA loan, could I not just come over and take over the SBA loan without any approval or loan application or any of that kind of stuff?
I don't know about that.
You sure can.
If the bank would allow it, I guess.
What does the bank have anything to do with it?
Well,
because the loan's already been given. There's no money being exchanged.
Yeah, but there's somebody else guaranteeing it now that they don't know.
There's a business that's guaranteeing this, right? Could you not just go into this and have a contract with that person? They stay on with the company until you refinance, and you.
I guess. I mean, it would just depend on if the individual was on that loan individually in addition to the company being on that.
So we do this frequently as well. One of the RV parks I bought last year, we took over the guy's SBA loan. He got an SBA loan to buy an RV park, business loan. I just took over the loan. His name was Eric. Couldn't sell it on the traditional market. I go, no problem. I'll just take over your payments. Why would you take over my payments? Why not just get a loan? I'm like, Eric, you couldn't sell this for what you wanted to sell it for. I'm willing to pay it for what I'm willing to write it up for what you're willing to do. As long as you just, why wouldn't you just go get your own loan? I'm like, interest rates are 8%. You're willing to let me take over a 3.7% rate. Why would I go to a bank? The only person that makes money in that transaction is my bank and your bank exchanging money. You want to make more money? Yes. Okay, then let me just take over your mortgage payment.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about here? Why do we have to go through these 85 other steps? Let me just take over the
You have a
SBA.
little bit more confidence than the first time you sat down with the bunny lady.
Of course. Yeah.
Because you have all.
Because
the
I've
answers
gone
now.
through it.
Right.
And I go through it all the time. And then more importantly, I have people that learn from me all over the country. So I learn interstate laws and all sorts of things. And I'm like, okay, this is legal in Arizona. This has got to be illegal somewhere else. It's not only legal.
Mm-hmm.
It has been done for hundreds of years. If I show you, the IRS shows you how to do this on all their websites, the Fannie, Freddie Mae, this is one of my favorite documents ever. I have this thing that I send to attorneys. When an attorney comes to me and says, hey, is this legal? IRS shows you exactly how to do it right here. The HUD settlement statement shows you exactly how to do taking over other people's payments. Every single document, the gov.info.gov, all this goes on for, it could go through hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of everything in the Supreme Court. There's people that have gone and said, hey, this can't be possible. Supreme Court says, no, this has been done for hundreds of years. And there's Supreme Court rulings that show, yeah, you can take over people's mortgage payments. Yeah, you can take over people's SBA loans. Yeah, what's wrong with it? At Supreme Court rulings.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you a bunch of different cases.
Let's do it.
Kind of use cases. Person wants to get a house.
Yeah.
Maybe they're renting now someplace else.
Go to,
hold on. Forget about where they're going to find it.
okay.
Is they can afford $3,000 a month.
Okay.
How much would they have to pay down? What would, what kind of house would they be able to have for $3,000 a month? As far as kind of market value, those two questions.
Okay. So the average amount, let's say that they're not going to find the deal, right? There's a deal finder.
Let's assume that they don't find the deal. Somehow one of your resources helps them find the deal.
Most people listening to this are not going to be like, let me go learn what PACE understands.
No,
right?
I mean, I'm in this, listen, I'm a slow learner. So I've got network marketing wired.
Right.
I know it like maybe nobody in the world knows that.
Right.
Like you know this real estate thing. I know the network marketing thing. I don't need to know the other things. I just need to have smart friends.
Correct.
So
this family, John and Mary Smith with 2 kids.
Yep.
They're not going to go learn how to find the deal
Right.
directly from the seller. So what they're going to do is they're going to probably pay somebody a finder's fee.
Yep.
And so what we find is the average person that's coming in to buy one of these houses is putting less than 10% down.
So
let's say
for a
purchase price is
$3,000 house, $3,000 monthly payment,
$3,000 monthly payment.
about how much mortgage,
You're
or
close.
how much is the house worth?
$500,000 probably.
So they'd have to put in about 50.
Yeah, about $50,000. Yeah.
So $50,000.
And that's going to pay for closing costs. That's going to pay for
That's
the
gonna pay
finder's
for
fee,
everything.
Pay for everything. Yeah.
That's for $500,000
Mhm.
house, and their payments around $3,000.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yeah. Their interest rate's going to be between probably 2.8 to 4.2, somewhere in that range, if they buy it the way I buy it.
2.8 to 4.2%.
Yeah. So that's going to change their payment, but let's just say they're buying around a $400,000 to $550,000 house for that. Yeah. They'll put less than 10% down. When I'm direct to the seller and there's no finder between me and the seller, I'm like 3% down payment to the seller.
How much is the finder getting of the?
It's always a
The
flat
50.
fee. It's like whatever they think is justified their time, $20,000, $30,000, $15,000, stuff like that.
Okay. And so if you found it yourself,
You don't have to pay that.
you'd pay like, 3% would
You'd
be
probably
what?
pay $15,000.
15 grand,
Yeah, something like that.
15 grand, still same payment,
Mhm.
still same interest rate
Yep.
range.
Yeah. Because you're taking over a payment, right? That doesn't change. The payment is the payment.
Okay. So that's use case number 1.
And they don't, how many times do they get their credit pulled?
I don't know.
Zero. How many times does somebody ask them for their bank balance?
Right.
0. How many times do they get a W-2, like have to show check stubs? 0. How many times do they have to show tax returns? 0.
Is there any downside for them on this?
No.
That you can see as far as the only thing would be they wouldn't be building their credit.
There's reporting agencies that do this. There's servicing. This is such a big industry that there's full on servicing companies that service this kind of loan. Yes, they can absolutely improve
So
their credit.
they can improve their credit.
Yeah.
Even without going to a bank, whatever.
Correct.
Okay. That's new home buyer. Second group, somebody is a W-2 earner.
Mm-hmm.
And they're paying maximum tax.
Yeah.
And they would rather not pay maximum tax.
Yeah.
They'd rather pay the least possible. Let's say they're making $100,000 a year, which means, they're paying,
25 grand in federal tax, probably.
Yeah. Something like that. 25 grand ish.
Yeah.
The W-2 now.
Yeah.
Not 1099. 25 to 40, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
How can they use a real estate strategy in order to be able to eliminate that tax?
Okay. So first thing they have to do is they have to be qualified as a real estate professional in order to get depreciation. How do you qualify as a real estate professional? There's 3 different ways that I see people do this. 1, they buy the real estate and they manage it themselves. As long as you're spending 15 hours a week on management and learning about management and going to classes about management, you are deemed a real estate professional, whether you have a license or you don't. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people pay for a real estate course to become that.
So you have to be qualified. You have to be categorized
in order
as a real estate professional in order to be able to get the depreciation on a separate property.
Correct.
Let's just assume they already have their home.
In order to wipe out your active income,
yes,
you have to be a qualified real estate professional.
Got it.
Now, if I'm not a W-2 earner and my income is passive income, I can wipe out those taxes on passive, but I cannot wipe it out on active income. Does that make sense?
No.
Well, a W-2 earner is making active income, right? They have to actively show up. So the IRS does not this is kind of messed up about W-2 people. They're the worst situation.
Most screwed of anybody
for real
in the world.
And the IRS says, well, you're not an active real estate professional, so we're not going to give you this benefit against your active income. If that W-2 earner had other passive income, then they could wipe out the income from their passive income, but they cannot wipe it out.
You got to jump through some hoops.
Yeah.
To categorize yourself officially.
A lot of people will get their wife licensed as an agent, and then now somebody in your household is a licensed, deemed a licensed professional.
It's either a real estate agent or there's some sort of way to categorize yourself.
You're actively involved, yes.
And then there's a process for that.
Yeah, there's nobody checks on it, by the way.
Assume they do.
There's no verification process. They just simply go, do you deem yourself as a real estate professional? And you might get audited, you might not get audited.
Yeah, but I want everybody to be audited.
Of course, yeah.
Right? So if they do that and then they go get a property using the process that you're describing and they turn it into a rental, they can take the depreciation from that property and put it against their active W-2 earnings.
Correct.
And lower their taxes.
Or remove it altogether. Yeah.
Or remove it altogether.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll give you a good example. I'll tell you how, mathematically, how much real estate would they have to buy to wipe that tax out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say I buy. You want to do the math with me?
Sure. Well, I'm not a good math guy, but I'll
write down $400,000. So let's say I find a $400,000 house. Divide that $400,000 by 27.5. Now, why is it 27.5? It's 27.5 because the IRS, this is why they give you the benefit. The IRS says, you bought this house, Eric. In 27.5 years, we believe this house that you bought for 400 grand will be worth nothing if you do not continually repair it. So we're going to give you reasonable repair adjustments on a yearly basis for 27 and a half years. That is where that number comes from.
That's the depreciation number?
Yep, correct. So in year 1, I got $14,545.
You got how much?
Okay, so let's do the math.
14,545?
Mm-hmm. You got that same number, right?
Yep.
So this is where it gets tricky, okay? That is called straight line depreciation, which means every year I'm going to get a credit for 14,500 and whatever. Next year, same thing. Next year, same thing. So for 27 and a half years, the IRS is going to give me a $14,000 tax benefit. That's pretty awesome. What a lot of people don't know is you can take the first 5 to 7 years up front in your first year. So let's multiply that. Take that 14,000 you got and do times 5.
72.7.
Okay. So I bought a $400,000 house. Okay. And let's start here. I earned $100,000 in my W-2.
Yes.
I have 25 grand that I have to pay to the IRS.
Yes. At least.
Okay. Let's just say it's 25 grand on the low side. I could just give the money to the IRS, which then I'm just giving it to Ukraine and the fentanyl crisis and all the mismanagement and all the bull crap that's going on.
Right.
Basically, might as well just light it on fire.
Yep.
I could give the IRS 25 grand, or I could use that 25 grand and go buy a house sub 2 or seller finance.
It's an income producing
It's an income producing asset that I have something to show for, will grow indefinitely for the rest of my life.
Let's say it didn't, even if it didn't grow.
At least I didn't
Even
have
if
to pay
it was
the
just
taxes.
cash flow neutral.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to do anything.
No, how much in tax benefits will I get that year? You have it on your calculator. Right
72,700.
I got
which would take what, 3 years worth of. So for the next 3 years, you'd be able to have that
tax neutral
from
one house.
Okay. So, but you're taking 5 to 7 years up front.
You're taking 5 years up front. Yeah.
5 years up front.
It's called it's called accelerated depreciation.
So you wouldn't have to do that if you didn't.
Nope.
If you were making more money, you'd probably want to do that.
I have to do that.
Yeah.
I have to. I do something called the cost segregation when I buy these. I have to get an engineering firm to come in. I'm taking 40% of my benefit up front in year 1.
Yeah.
So like for me, instead of 72
Like
grand,
with the airplane, we took 100%.
Yep.
In year 1.
That they got rid of that for like a year or two. They went down to like 80%. You must have bought that 3 or 4 years ago.
No, 2 years ago.
Okay. So
it's still 100%.
So last year they went down to 80%. This year they went down to 60%. So it was a Biden administration thing. Like these rich people are getting too much tax benefit.
It's so great.
It's so great. So for you in 2022, you were able to get 100%. 2023, they went to 80%. This year it's only 60%. And they're trying to fight to go back to 100% again.
Yeah, I bet they do.
So your benefit on the plane or a car.
So if you're, hold on, before we go there. So just to get rid of the 20, let's call it 25 grand on $100,000 W-2
I would
earnings,
really only have to buy like $150,000 house.
Or if you you could still buy the $400,000 house.
Delay your benefits.
But just take year 1.
Correct. Or year 1 and 2.
Or take 2 years instead of 5.
Correct.
So that would be 29,000.
Correct.
So that would basically make you neutral if you took the 2 years.
So now you have something to show for your money instead of me giving it to Ukraine. Nothing against Ukraine.
Yeah. I get it.
But I care about my family more, and I care about somebody over there.
Understand.
I now have a house that's maybe cash flow neutral.
So you're going to find this and just assume it's cash flow neutral, or even you could even lose a few bucks.
You could. The average single family home in my portfolio makes about $400 a month in its first year, but then we raise rents in year 3 and all that kind of stuff.
So let's say it makes $400 a month, or even if it doesn't, you're not paying the $25,000.
I can tell you, my rich friends will buy these deals and they don't care what it cash flows.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because the tax benefit is enough.
Yeah. And then guess what happens in 3 years? You raise the rents. In 3 more years, you raise the rents. But meanwhile, the greatest thing on planet Earth is happening.
Right.
Property is appreciating and your best employee is paying down your debt.
Right.
When Dave Ramsey says, oh, your tenants don't pay down your debts, obviously Dave Ramsey doesn't understand real estate.
He doesn't?
Dave Ramsey failed.
I have my arguments with Dave Ramsey.
Okay, Dave Ramsey failed in real estate. Okay, Dave Ramsey failed in real estate. I'll say it a third time. Dave Ramsey failed in real estate because he went and got bad loans when he was fixing and flipping houses. So then what he did is he says, oh, you know what I could do is I could make the whole world fearful and I could sell products based on fear. And then I can bring in $300 million a year in info products. And I could take my $300 million and I could deploy that into real estate and pay it off in cash and tell my audience that they should only pay their houses off in cash too. So he's like, oh, I have $200 million in real estate. It's all paid off free and clear. Yeah, from selling your clients fear. I don't know anybody that's a billionaire that did not use debt. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody.
Right.
And people are like the Dave Ramsey will be
and he'll say, well, you'll feel better.
great. And you'll have a shitty life.
You'll feel better if you don't have debt.
You know what I feel better about is when I have enough employees that I feel like I've made an impact on this world. What he teaches people to do is play small.
Right.
And the reality is he does a lot of amazing
The whole millionaire next door thing, I never understood it. Who wants to be the millionaire next door? I want to soak all the juice out of life.
Me too.
While we're here.
Me too.
All right. So
the problem is they got to make, you ever go to those, you go to a red stop sign and it says no turn on red, right turn on red. Do you ever go through those red lines?
Sure. Yeah.
I go through them all the time.
Yeah.
Why did they put the sign there? Because there's one idiot that did not look right and did not look left. And so they have to make a freaking sign for the one idiot. And so I look at Dave Ramsey, I'm like, oh, you're making content for the idiots that have not gotten past that stage in life, or they're afraid of their own shadow.
Yeah.
And to be honest, he does a lot of good for those people to get through that.
Sure.
But a lot of people that leave that go, okay, I've saved money. Now what?
Yeah.
My wife didn't marry me to be some guy that saves $1,400 a year and can't afford Starbucks. Are you kidding me? Gosh. Anyway, another conversation.
So I love it.
Okay. The 1099 is
so 1099 person is making 200 grand in total 1099 revenue.
Yeah.
What do?
They do the same thing the guy at 100 grand.
Same exact thing.
Just twice.
They take
their benefit all up front in 1 year.
So they figure out 800,000 in real estate.
Or
approximately.
Or you buy the 400,000 in real estate and you take all 5 years.
And you take all 5 years because, you want to get rid of the full
200,
whatever's
it would
left
be 80 grand
after your other expenses.
Be 80 grand. Yeah.
Because you have, normal expenses to your business.
Right. And by the way, guys, talk to your CPA about all this stuff. It's all legit.
Disclaimer. I'm not a professional at all. Obviously, everybody should know this.
I'm not giving a disclaimer because I don't think it's incorrect information. I'm giving a disclaimer because the numbers are rough numbers. And so what you have to do is you have to understand, I have full on YouTube videos about this with my CPA showing how to do this properly with exact numbers. What we're doing right now are
Yeah.
They're rough numbers.
Let me ask it a different way.
Yeah.
Network marketing is kind of known for people who are able to generate cash flow and not have wealth.
Yeah, like professional basketball players.
They're unbelievable.
Yeah.
They make so much money.
Yeah.
And they have so few assets.
Yeah.
They have a leaky bucket. They're pouring money in the top and it's leaking out the bottom as quickly as possible.
Right.
And most of the time they're not paying attention to the tax benefits that they should be, just normal ones.
Right.
The deductions and et cetera, the bookkeeping that they should be doing and how they should be managing it. So tax time comes, the panic, they'll
use the next 3 months.
They'll push it forward.
Yeah.
And then they'll say, they'll dump a pile of stuff on their accountant's desk a day before and say, please do this, or they'll do it themselves and say, you know what, I got to do it. So they just write the top line number and they pay the tax. So they pay way more than they should pay because they're focused on building their business.
Yeah. They're
really, really myopic.
And nobody told them that knowing taxes actually makes you a ton of money.
Yeah.
If you knew how much money understanding taxes made you, you would focus on it. Nobody told us that. One thing I will tell you, you're empowering me, and the other way, you're depressing me like crazy. Oh, really?
Yes, because of how much money I paid in taxes.
Yeah, I haven't paid in 7 years, so
I'm very annoyed by this.
I might pay this year, sadly, but
because you just can't. The number's getting too big.
Yeah, because you're chasing a dragon all the time.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So let's take.
If I'm
gonna go extreme for a second.
All right. Yeah. I think you go to the network marketer.
Can you find a way for every person listening to this to not pay any tax?
Yes.
Using real estate?
Yes.
Every single one.
Every single one. There's not a person on planet Earth that you cannot do this.
Is this just in the United States or is it everywhere?
This is the United States.
Okay. A person in the United States then.
Yeah. Or an expat that maybe files in the United States, something like that.
So you're telling me they could be like a person who lives in Dubai and doesn't pay any tax?
Yeah.
Without having to go to Dubai?
Yeah, like one of my best friends moved to freaking Puerto Rico to avoid tax. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so
living
ridiculous.
in Dorado with the 14 other, all the rest.
Right, and he's over there. He's actually, what's funny, he's a real estate guy.
Yeah,
but why doesn't he do the real estate I do? You don't get tax benefits in real estate if you're fixing and flipping. You don't get tax benefits if you're developing and selling. You only get tax benefits if you hold the property and you're the owner of the property long term.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, I don't want to build a management team.
Mm.
Okay, well that I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big team. I have an asset manager, a traveling asset manager. I've got 6 people in the office that are managing the property.
How big is your team now?
Well, it depends. I have a personal portfolio and I have a fund. My fund is 7 people. My personal portfolio is like 12 people. And
then your info business?
30 people probably.
Okay.
Something like that. Mostly like community like service and member success advisors, stuff like that.
I'm not saying you're going to do this, but if you did a fund just for people in network marketing, no matter how much they were making, whether it's W-2 because they're part-time people or 1099 because they're network marketing people, if you did a fund, could you find a way for them to be able to get the same exact tax benefits in that fund as they would if they bought the individual properties one by one by one by one? Yeah. They can get the same exact benefits?
Yeah. What's cool about a fund, oh my gosh, we could get into the weeds on this. You okay with me getting into the weeds on
go.
This? Okay. So
get all weeded up, man.
First thing I would do.
Listen, I think every single person listening, I'd like to have just, some for our community. Yeah. I love the people in network marketing. I'd like them to be able to keep more of the money that they make and have a better life as a result of it.
I tell people that they're giving their retirement away to the IRS.
And I'm not equipped. Yeah. I'm equipped so they can pour more into the top of the bucket. Yeah. I'm not equipped to fix the hole in the bottom. Right. But somebody like you is equipped. I do. So if, who knows, we work something out we figure something out like this that would be a service that was vetted and we could trust, and there was transparency and there was accountability and there was all this stuff, and people didn't have to become an expert. This is really, really important. Yeah. I live with a maxim in our business, our profession, that all distractions are equal. And if you try to become a master of too many things, you will lose focus on the thing that's pouring into the top of the bucket. Right. And some people try and, they want to become an author, or they want to do this, they want to do that. And pretty soon their focus is splintered in 5 different directions. Right. What I want them to do is build an empire and then have the cash flow from that, create true wealth, true FU money. Mm-hmm. So they don't have to compromise themselves in any direction, do it completely by the law. Right. So they sleep at night. Yeah. And they maximize every dollar. And I'd like to start that with me, because Marina's sitting over there. We fund a lot of stuff for this government, I would tell you right now. Yeah. We pay big numbers. I pay multiple 7 figures a year. Yeah. I pay a lot of money in taxes, but my taxes are property taxes, which is what I love paying. I love paying property taxes. Why? Because it goes towards the schools. It goes towards the roads. Right. It goes towards the city. But why am I paying federal income tax? That's such a freaking scam. They're just taking my money and giving it off to other countries. Well, and I don't want to be, I'm a patriot. I want to support, but if the government is saying it wants people to be making these investments, that's why it has the tax code that it does. Mm-hmm. Everybody should be taking advantage of it, but the average person doesn't know how to do it. No. So, can I start on a network marketing guy real fast, and I'll go to the please. Okay, so let's say I'm a network marketer. Mm-hmm. A couple of things that they don't learn in network marketing is how to do bookkeeping. So there's a company. This is what's crazy to me, is that before I knew this, I had a bookkeeper in my construction company. It was like $6,000 a month, and she didn't know what she wasn't great. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until I got like a freaking like controller and then a CFO that I finally got to somebody who had brains in their head to like be a strategist.
Then I find out like 8 years ago, there's a company called startvirtual.com, and you can get a bookkeeper for like $190 a month that was better than my $6,000 a month person. So go get a bookkeeper for $190 a month. Solve that problem. Because most of these people.
What's it called again?
Startvirtual.com. That's it. Startvirtual.com. Go to them, get a bookkeeper. It's $190 a month. They'll track all your expenses, categorize them properly. They'll tell you where you're making money, where you're not making money. It's $190 a month. That's it. Okay. And this is a big problem for most people because they're stacking this stuff in front of their CPA, go, right? But if they had
documented anything,
if they had a monthly report that came in, it was like, here's where you're at, here's where you're at, here's where you're at, here's where you're at. I don't know how you are, but I imagine at your level, you're higher level than me in a lot of ways. I imagine you have a financial advisor that's telling you, hey, Eric, just so you know, your tax liability in 6 months, if you can't figure it out, if you don't buy another jet, your $2 million is where you're trending. $3 million is where you're trending, blah, 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 whatever. So does my team. Most people don't have that.
Right.
Because they can't afford it. Well, startvirtual.com is a great way to afford that. Cool. Check the box. Next thing you do is if you're too busy and you don't want to go buy real estate and manage it, which I totally understand it, then go invest in somebody's fund. And what's cool about a fund, okay, so let's say that...
What are you looking for in a fund? Because there's a lot of funds and...
If I'm the investor?
Yes, because there's a lot of funds that, in my opinion, like my friend, the guy with the big dental practice.
Yeah.
He allows people into his fund, friends and family, to come into his fund. He doesn't charge them any fees. You know, he kind of does it for his employees and stuff. Yeah. He enjoys it. I'm of the belief that all people bringing value should be fairly treated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Teams doing the work, the investors bringing the money, the people selling their property, everything. Everybody should be treated fairly if you want to have it sustainable long term.
Right.
But there's also some out there that they lean heavy against the little guy investor or against the unsophisticated.
The way they're incentivized. The way they're incentivized is their fees, not on the exit.
Correct.
Right. So you want to find a fund first and foremost where the person running the fund has more money in the fund than anybody else.
Okay. So you want to make sure they have money in the fund.
More money than anyone else. If they don't have more money than any other investor, you got a problem.
Why?
Because they don't believe in it. They believe in it less than the person that invested in them. For me, like I challenge people in my fund. I go, if you ever invest more money than I do in my own fund, I'll quit.
Got it.
Okay.
So more than any other investor, that's number one.
They should be in the number one LP. So there's something called a GP and an LP. The GP is the general partner, the person who put the deal together, who has the management team. They're the ones finding the deal, negotiating the deal, managing the tenants, dealing with the exit strategy, dealing with all the stuff. And then there's the LP team, which is just limited partners, the investors. Okay. A GP, a lot of times legally doesn't have to put any money into the deal. And they'll go out and promote this fund like, hey, come and invest with us. We're buying RV parks, or we're buying this, we're doing this thing. It sounds sexy, but then when you lift up the hood, you go, you've not even invested in your own fund. Well, yeah, because I don't legally have to. I did all the sweat equity, dude. Everybody
or I promoted it or whatever.
Everybody has to do, every GP has to put in sweat equity. So that box should be checked. Your GP should also be your largest LP. Okay. So your GP, the person who's running the fund, should also be in the LP side. So they know exactly how it feels to be the limited partner. Okay. That's number one. Number two, find somebody that you resonate with in terms of their exit strategy. Okay. So some people go, we're going to exit in 2 years. We're going to exit in 7 years. We're going to exit in 12 years, right? Depends on their exit strategy and what they're trying to do.
Most of the funds that I've heard of or talked to or
3 to 7 years.
No, they just say when we feel like it.
Yeah.
Our exit strategy is when we decide it's the right time. There is no.
Yeah. Makes sense.
There is no number. Because
they should have a time horizon.
We don't know what the market's, what's going to happen in the market, what opportunities are available. It could be right away. It could take some time.
The third thing I would also do is I would find a fund that will refinance your money and then keep you in the fund. So for example, think about this. Eric, if you gave me $1 million today, And we went out and we bought a $5 million property. You gave me $1 million for it. In 5 years, I have a couple of choices. What are my two choices in 5 years? My exit strategy. I could sell the asset, let's say at 8 million, take a tax hit, pay your $1 million plus, let's say $500,000 back. So you get a 20, whatever, you get a 50% return over 5 years. So 10% yearly. You're not excited about that. But let's say I just give you your $1 million back. Okay, great. Now you got a tax hit. Usually you want to get into a fund that's willing to roll into the next deal, obviously. But here's the magic right here. The magic is the other option. You want to get into a fund that will refinance in 5 years, get you your money back, and keep you in at the same ownership as if your money was still in the deal. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, hey, take my money for 5 years, give it back to me in 5 years, but keep my ownership in the fund exactly where it was because you were able to refinance. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So, or hey, roll my $1 million into the next deal type of thing. That's usually what you want to do. You want to play long-term. The people that are investing as the LP, this is not make or break you money. It's the F you money.
Right.
It's F the government. I'm a patriot too, but I'm frustrated when I give my money away and they go spend the money incorrectly, right? It's just like any business. No politician has ever treated our government like a freaking business. It'd be great if they did, but they don't. What I'd rather do is what if all you did, Eric, every dollar that you gave the IRS, when you decided to hang it all up, whenever that is, the IRS just handed it all back to you and go, hey, thank you for the 0% interest loan. And they just gave it all back to you. Is that going to happen? No. In a multifamily fund, that's the worst case scenario that happens to you. Somebody goes, hey, the thing didn't work out, but here's your money back.
Is there any disaster scenarios?
Yes, big time. It's happening right now. People that bought, so here's the problem with multifamily.
No, but before we get to disaster, we got through 3 things in the fund.
Those are the main 3 things.
More than any other investor, the GP should be the larger than the LP.
If you're
resonate with the exit strategy, whatever that is. If they refinance the money and then keep you in the fund.
There you go.
Those are the big 3.
Yep. And then,
what about fees? I mean, what's the right number? What's the reasonable? What's fair when it comes to somebody doing the work on the real estate side while somebody is just like providing the cash from whatever source, W-2 or 1099 or their other business.
This is why having the number one where somebody is the largest LP is also the GP, because that means they're paying the same fees as everybody else when they invest on the LP side.
So that aligns interests
100%. So
that's the biggest reason probably why.
Yes. It's like, am I willing to pay these big crazy fees if I'm in?
Well, if you're paying it to yourself though.
Yeah, but it's still coming out. It doesn't go to you. It goes to the employees, the team. Like there's a team of people running this. The fees go to like payroll primarily.
Yeah.
When it's a reasonable fee, the fees go to running the payroll and the management team and all that kind of stuff.
And what's fair when it comes to exits, when it comes to splits?
The way the split should work, it's usually an 80-20 split or a 70-30 split on the GP. So GP, general partner, takes 30% and the LPs take 70%, which is kind of cool because if you think about it, the LPs are typically coming up with 30% of the money, but they're getting 70% of the ownership.
Right.
It's kind of a good deal.
30-70, 20-80, somewhere in that range.
We're a 30-70. So on my side, I have a partner on my fund who runs the day-to-day fund. His name is Josiah. Him and I own the 30% together. So I'm 15% of the GP and he's 15% of the GP, but I'm also the largest LP, right? I probably own 25% of the LP just by myself, not Josiah and me, just me. So when I invest and
Do you have just the one fund?
I have one fund, but
how big is the fund?
The fund, we just launched it, our first fund. We've been doing real estate a long time, but we decided to finally do a fund because so many people come to us and go, dude, can I just invest with you? Our fund is, the first round we did was 25 million bucks, closed it out. Now we're starting a new fund. We'll probably do 100 million.
Okay.
So we're smaller, which is great, but guess what I'm doing? I'm doing all seller finance stuff.
Sure.
Which actually gets into the diabolical atomic bombs that everybody's running into, I don't have those problems.
Right.
And so let's move on to
before we go to disaster. I just want to, I'm trying to get in my head.
I also would visit their office. I would make sure you visit their office. I would meet their employees.
Them as far as the fund.
Yep. And I would also make sure that they
know the people.
Most of the time you're seeing them on a webinar.
Some sort of trust.
They're working out of their office. You don't want to invest in a fund.
Word of mouth or somebody who's been there with them or whatever.
If you haven't been to their office, you haven't. And the other thing too is I would ask if you can visit the property anytime. Like our people can visit the property anytime. You want to be able to drive by and go, hey, can I get a tour of the property today? And have the leasing agents give you a property tour because you're a part owner. I've been an LP in other people's stuff and they refuse to give me access to watch.
Is there red flags in funds when it comes to promising too much in returns?
Yes, you can't. You legally cannot do that.
Yeah.
Even if you believe it 100%, you can't legally say anything.
Right.
You
could lose.
We
you
hope.
Could lose.
Here's projection. Oh yeah. In fact, you signed a document, a PPM. You've signed PPMs before. Maybe you don't remember, but you've signed PPMs, private placement memorandum. That is a document that says every way you're going to lose money.
Right.
Yeah.
So I have 3 steps then. I try to reduce things in my head.
I love it.
Step 1, figure out a no pain plan for zero tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy. Start a fund or partner.
I'm just saying,
partner with a fund.
Yeah. Step 2, you have number 1 plus a little extra cash flow.
Yeah.
Step 3 is number 1, no pain plan for zero tax plus a lot of extra cash flow.
Yeah.
And figure out a way to not pay tax on that either.
Right.
So this is all doable.
Yes. It's not just doable. It's like thousands and thousands of people's full-time life.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Talk to me about disaster.
Okay. Disaster. Here's a disaster that's happening right now in the marketplace. Trillions of dollars of debt is coming expired. So if you go get a residential mortgage right now, a single family mortgage, how long does that mortgage go?
Anywhere from 5 years to 30 years.
Yeah. It's like 97% of mortgage loans originated are 30-year mortgages, right? A lot of them are kind of transitioning to 15-year because people they're a lot of the Dave Ramseyites, but it's 15 to 30 years.
Right.
How long is your rate locked in on those loans? The full duration, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's not how it works in multifamily. Multifamily is like a ticking time bomb. The multifamily lenders will only give you loans from like 3 to 7 years. And
they're refinance.
You have to. So you have a ticking time bomb. So it forces you to have an exit strategy very, very quickly. And if you buy, let's say in 2020, interest rates are 3%, I go to a lending company like Marcus and Millichap. I go to Marcus and Millichap and go, hey, we want to buy this deal. They go, no problem. We're going to give you a 3.5% interest rate because rates are really low. The Fed is letting us give you really, really cheap money. But it's a floating rate because they all are. If rates go up, your rate's going to go up too. Oh, we're not worried about that. Okay, well, that's a problem. Because if your rate goes up, but your cash flow doesn't, your insurance goes up, but your cash flow doesn't.
So how do you mitigate against this disaster?
Buy on seller finance. That's what we do.
So you stay away from that.
My fund does not.
So you're saying traditional real estate has some ticking time bombs that yours doesn't have.
Mine are seller finance. I don't have that. I don't have the same problems.
So what problems would you have?
Insurance going up, something bad happening to the property burns down, something along those lines, like anything else. But I don't have debt problems, right? I'm not begging daddy bank to refinance or stretch me out or, hey, give me an extension. Think about the people right now that raised $20 million in 2020 to go buy stuff. They're popping up right now. There's a website called The Real Deal. It's like the real estate industry's like bulletin board. So many syndicators or people that collect money from other people that are raising capital. That's called a syndicator. So many syndicators are getting their asses handed to them, and some of them are going to prison because they promised things they shouldn't have promised. And now rates are up and the cash flow is not there and they're losing their assets. And the lenders are like, we don't want these properties back. And so when people are saying, hey, the market's going to crash, there is going to be somewhat of a dip. Big multifamily buyers will see those and go, we'll take those over. We'll take those over at a discount before they ever hit the market.
Sure.
Multifamily is not going anywhere. But again, I don't believe we have an inventory issue. I don't believe any of that kind of stuff.
Really? Do you think we're going to become more of a renter culture or an owner culture?
I mean, stats show that that's what's happening.
More renter?
More renters, yeah.
And is that good, bad, indifferent? Does it matter?
Depends on if you are a landlord.
From your standpoint.
I think it's bad for our country.
Yeah.
I think when you don't own something, you don't
treat it the same.
You don't treat it the same. It's like you're visiting a restaurant versus owning the restaurant. Like you're going to treat it differently, all that kind of stuff. So, Grant and I disagree on this.
Sure.
I think that everybody should own their own home. He says that you shouldn't own your own home. You should rent it because you should be putting your money into other investments. I'm like,
well, but with your philosophy, you could own it with the same cash flow.
Right.
But what he's saying is if you put all the cash into a house, you could put that other places and get a better return.
I agree with that. However,
that piece, but if you use your approach, you're still putting a very similar amount than if you were renting.
But basically. We're not talking. The main thing I disagree with Grant is that we're not talking about you and me and Grant. We're talking about the 99% of people out there that their risk tolerance is zero. Yeah. And so when you're telling them, hey, don't own your personal house where you're raising your kids and your wife needs that stability. What do women want more than anything else? Stability, safety, and protection.
Yeah.
And if you're raising a family and you're renting, but then dad's over here gambling on a real estate investment, that doesn't make the household secure.
Right.
So I would argue the opposite way. I would say take care of your family first and invest the rest.
So have you had this debate with
multiple times? Grant? Yeah, I've had dinner with him multiple times.
And
we just disagree.
Well,
I think what it is that we're talking about two different people.
Sure.
If there are people in your downline and working underneath you, those are animals, dude. They have risk tolerance that other people don't have. But if we're talking about somebody that is an accountant and their wife is a school teacher, absolutely not. They should absolutely own their house and they should not be gambling because they have not learned financial literacy and they have not learned the crap that we're talking about right now. So
let me ask a couple questions. This is all fascinating, by the way. Thank you.
I could talk about this for all day.
This is great. I'm looking forward to learning more.
By the way, nobody ever asked me these questions. So
really?
Yeah. It's always like, hey, how do you find the house and how do you do this? And how do you tell me more stories about sellers you've done? How much money do you make? Like different questions.
Yeah. Those are all interesting. I'm super interested in a no pain plan for zero tax. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
For the average person, especially the people in network marketing.
Right.
You know, my tribe, my people, right? I want to see them win as best I possibly can. One, if we figure out something that was a win-win, and we're talking about this in front of the world, and would you have the bandwidth or capacity to be able to have a fund that was only for people in network marketing?
Yes.
You would.
All right. Here's how you start, okay? You use a fund that's already existing, okay? And you say, hey, let's have the same team that's running the existing fund, create a secondary fund. All it is, it means that, hey, when we see the asset we like, we'll put in this group and this group alone has access to that investment. And you make a goal and you have to have a limit on what you're raising. So you have to say, all right, we're going to raise $25 million, which gives us the ability to buy $120 million, $130 million in real estate. Great. Once that fund is closed out, that $25 million is closed out, we then create another fund for the same group. So the same group could have multiple different funds, right?
Got it.
So what you do is you go, let's start small. Let's get me, you, and 5 other guys together and everybody puts in $1 million or whatever it is.
Right.
Let's go buy a series of assets, show people that here's how we got rid of the taxes. Then you can go to the masses and go, we're going to do now not a $25 million raise, we're going to do a $100 million raise.
Well, I don't think it'd be hard to put $100 million together. There's so many people in the network marketing space that have extra. They literally don't know what to do with the dollars.
Give it to
what if they're in another country?
Doesn't matter.
And they have income from that other country.
I don't have any experience on that.
Okay.
I have an international tax guy that I could put you in touch with, but that's not my.
I'm just wondering if they could take advantage of tax benefits here in the United States somehow.
I don't think they can.
Okay.
Unless it's money they're making in the United States, I bet you they can wipe it. Yeah, of course they can. Yeah. Their LLC that gets the depreciation wipes out the active income from the other LLC and then it floats up to them. So the way it works is that I have active income in this LLC. The depreciation comes from this LLC, the fund, and it wipes out the income on that LLC. And then I get a K1 that floats up to me. That's the document.
Right.
So I don't know why it wouldn't work any other way to them. But I'll verify and to let you know.
Yeah. My bias would be to start with accredited people.
Always. Always.
And what I'd love to be able to have is anybody who is paying any tax from their network marketing income to be able to have a no pain, no risk.
The way you do that is
plan to be able to zero that tax out.
And the way that works. So let's say we've got a GP group at 30% and the LPs at 70%. The way to even make sure that that's even a greater possibility is the GPs can forfeit their tax benefit and give it to the other 70%. I've done that multiple times. So I'll have.
Why would they do that?
Why would the GP do that? Because the GP might not be. I buy enough real estate in my other personal portfolio that I might not need the depreciation on this asset. But in order for like Angela Wayne, I've got an investor right now that her biggest problem, she's like, Pace, I've got like $2 million. And if I don't wipe this out, I'm going to pay all $2 million to the taxes. And I go, okay, that's easy. Why don't you come in? This is kind of cool. I gave her 5% ownership. I have a Birmingham, Alabama, 220 unit multifamily that I'm buying for my personal portfolio, all on seller finance. And all I need is 5% down. So the seller wants 5% down. She's giving me $500,000 in cash. I'm giving her a small piece of ownership, but I'm taking the depreciation from the whole asset and giving it all to her. And she's like, why would you do that? And I go, well, because I bought enough real estate on the other businesses that I don't need the depreciation here, but I do want that asset. I want the future growth. I want the pay down. She's like, well, how do I get my money back? I go, well, when I refinance, I'll get you your $500,000 plus some return. But the main return that she got is she just avoided $2 million tax headache.
Yeah.
She got all her return right there. So you can do that. That's the craziest thing about this stuff is that I can allocate the depreciation to whoever I want. The GP side is a lot of times their LPs won't even ask that question.
Sure.
And bad GPs just go, ooh, I'm going to take all the tax benefits for ourselves.
Yeah.
But we on our fund now, it's just even across the board. But if you decided, I really want my LPs to get the majority of the tax benefits, I want to make sure my network marketing guys underneath me are being taken care of and they're not paying taxes, you could allocate some of your depreciation as an added bonus to them, to their side.
And inside the fund, the 1031 stuff still applies.
Yeah, you sell the deal, you 1031 into the next deal. 100%.
And refinancing,
same thing.
You still get the benefits.
Yep.
So there's not a situation where one group's getting the management is getting the benefit and the investor's not.
There are funds, I'm sure, out there that are like that, but I've never ran into any of them.
Okay.
Most of the funds, they want the LPs to reinvest in the next deal, right? And so they're like, I want to take care of you, and they have a lot of transparency. You read through the PPM, you'll see exactly how the structure is made. I'm not a reader much. I'm a guy that gets in and has the conversation, then has an attorney condense the thing to me, like da 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 da. So,
how long would it take you to deploy? Let's say we put 25 million together or something to deploy that capital and get it actually working.
30 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
No, come. You should fly down, hang out with me and my fund.
30 days?
Yeah, 30 days. If you here's what would happen. We'd have to put a PPM together.
Yeah.
It would take 30 days just to do that.
Sure, of course.
So I would tell my acquisition department, hey guys, we're going to have another fund that's going to come up. We're
I
going to
bring
raise
it in
25.
friends and family. We start small, whatever.
Yeah. And we put $25 million together. By that time, my acquisition team is like, okay, here's what's happening. We have a funnel, right? A pipeline of deals coming to us, and we'll say yes or no, depending on how much cash we have available to us. So we're saying no to decent deals, good deals, great deals, because we go, that's the deal we want. And this is the money we currently have. So the deals that we currently are passing to the side, we would just go, hey, Eric and Pace are putting a $25 million fund together. Let's say yes to that deal instead of saying no to it. That is probably already sitting in my pipeline.
So network marketing estimated does about 200 billion a year in revenue.
Wow.
It pays out about 200 million a day in commissions.
What?
Yeah. 200 million every day. Now, 25% of that's in the United States.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. 75% around the world.
Okay. So 50 million a day.
Every day being paid out in commissions that, big and small,
I don't have a direct line to that group, that demographic. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of you guys, but I don't have a direct line to
no,
that.
So my point is like, if we could figure out a way that the average person felt safe, felt comforting. It was authentic. It was transparent,
Yeah.
and they were able to do this all above board, have an asset, be able to add wealth. I want network marketing to be a wealth generating machine, not just a cash flow generating machine,
Right.
which is what it is now for most people. Very few people have the chops to be able to take those dollars and turn it into something that's a real wealth building thing.
Right.
Right. Including myself. I mean, we've created wealth just with sheer earning power.
Right.
Not with crazy tax advantage leverages.
Yeah.
Leverage situations.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Real like lifelong 10 generations down the road we'll have money type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Super fascinating. So
it's pretty simple. Here's what you do. Come down to my fund.
Yep.
Sit down with my team, spend a day with my team, half a day with my team. Let's go drive a couple of our assets.
Right.
We'll show you the structures. We'll show you, here's our list of investors. Here's what we're making in cash flow. We'll be transparent on our existing fund.
Yep.
And we'll say, hey, if we create another fund, here's what that would look like.
Mm-hmm.
And here's how we would split it. We would manage the whole thing. We'd take care of it.
Right.
Use our offices, use our name. We just you would be a co-GP with me.
Yep.
And go do a small like tester fund, $25 million, whatever it is. And be hands-on, fly to the property before we execute and buy the asset, go down to the property, hang out on the property.
I just still find it fascinating that there seems to be so little friction between an idea and execution.
There never is. I don't feel like there is.
Really?
I'm a jumper, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I was talking, are you friends with Cody Sanchez?
I know of Cody. Yeah.
She's like, the great thing about you, Pace, you balance me out. She's like, I'm a person that will like take all the information in for 5 years and then I'll take a leap of faith.
No, I'm not that person.
Meanwhile, you're the person that jumped and failed 4 times to figure it out. And now you have a better way before I even take action on the thing that I thought was a good
I believe in say yes, tell the world, figure it out.
There you go. So we've already figured out the fun side. And I've got great people that are 10 years ahead of me on it too, like Ken McElroy and some of those people.
Sure.
That are like, here's exactly how you set your fund up. Here's how you do the thing. We've already been real estate operators for years and years and years. We just did it for ourselves.
So tell me where you're 41, when you're 50, what does the portfolio look like?
I think I'll be a billionaire by the time I'm 51. I think so. 10, maybe 12 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. How do you become a billionaire in real estate? You buy $1 billion in real estate. It's way harder than it sounds, obviously.
Phase 1, step 1, get $1 billion.
Get $1 billion. Yeah. But you buy $1 billion, even if it has all debt on it. You didn't buy that you didn't come up with $1 billion. And you wait 10 years, 12 years. The average property doubles every 10 to 15 years. You just sit and wait.
And that's it. So the quicker you can build a portfolio and you start the waiting game.
Right.
And in the meantime, you're getting the tax benefit.
Correct. And what you're doing, and this is why people put funds together, is because I built my portfolio on my own for the longest time, right?
Right.
I have good money for the rest of my life. This
just helps you go faster, like a Warren Buffett.
It helps you go faster, but it also
Warren Buffett got investors. Yeah, Warren Buffett got investors in, and he was able to compound. Right.
But it's just like golf. You play golf. Mm-hmm. Do you like to play golf by yourself?
No, not really. I mean, sometimes. Like you go out and play 3 or 4 holes, whatever. You'll hit the range, whatever. It's pretty rare. That's kind of like building your own portfolio. At some point, you're like, I want to do this with my friends. And that's what doing a fund is. Or just get time working for you. Go faster.
Right. I'm just saying it's way more fun when you're doing it with cool people.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, like for us, we had hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate before we started our fund. For us, when we started our fund, it was out of demand from our friends going, dude, we make so much money in SaaS products and this and that. We want to deploy our capital and stuff. We go, I guess we'll put a fund together. And it took us 3 years to figure it out, like going to the right people, paying the right money to figure out how to do it the right way. The main thing is setting it up structurally that everybody's happy.
Yeah.
The second thing is legally, how do you do it properly and learning all the things, right? That it's easy. I go down to a property, I buy a property today, I buy it. I don't have to disclose to myself that I'm getting into an investment. But when you're asking other people to do it, you got 18 layers of all sorts of things.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, for those still listening to this, if you find this fascinating, if you're interested, if you'd like to maybe participate, by the time you've heard this, we'll have done our homework. Shoot me an email at vip@networkmarketingpro.com, vip@networkmarketingpro.com. Just say, I'm interested. And we'll just build a little interest list, and let you know what next steps might be.
Yeah. And go on my YouTube. I just posted a video like 3 weeks ago on one of our recent acquisitions, a seller.
Is it just Pace Morby?
Pace Morby
on
yes,
YouTube.
Go on there. I've got my fund manager with me, my asset manager with me on the property, 160 unit deal that we did in our fund, seller finance deal at 5% interest. And we let other people participate in that deal. And I walk the property. I show you the address. I show you the documents. Go and check it out. And
maybe we do some big crazy thing in our big studio.
Yeah.
To educate the world.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be fun.
I'd love to do that. Actually, I could do that for a 12-hour thing. I'd love to do it.
Yeah. Pace, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're headed to another speaking engagement this afternoon and then headed home. But this is part one in a multi-part conversation that hopefully was interesting for you. It's fascinating for me. I'm still trying to absorb as quick as I can all of this stuff, and my brain's just going in the main direction is I don't want to pay any unnecessary tax.
That's a great way to say it.
If I can have an asset while that's happening, and if I can do it in a way that doesn't risk my lifestyle in the short term, I'm all in. So just got to make sure that everything's done right.
Love it.
So everybody can sleep at night.
Cool.
Well,
Thanks.
I appreciate you coming by. This conversation will continue.
Cool.
My friend. And yeah, that's it.
Later, guys.
So that is our conversation with Pace Morby. I hope you got value from it. I know that I did. I have notes all over the place. We're going to pursue figuring out if there's something that makes sense with this, with some sort of fund. One way or another, you should make sure that you either know this or know people that you trust that can help you with this. Because if the government allows it and it's a way for you to be able to maximize the dollars that you're bringing in and minimize the tax that you're paying out without affecting your lifestyle, I think that's something that you need to explore. If wealthy people are doing this, and in fact, they are doing this, you should be one of those people. So if you know anybody who's fascinated by real estate, but doesn't really know how the game works or hasn't thought about it the way Pace thinks about it, non-traditional, outside of banks, outside of all the credit facilities and different things that he talks about, the limiting beliefs that I had coming into the conversation, forward this to them. Send it to them. Get their thoughts, get their opinions. If you know anybody who's sophisticated with real estate, send this to them. Get their 2 cents. Find out what they think about this. I think they'd appreciate it, and I'd appreciate you helping us spread the word. What we're interested here at the Excellence Project is excellence. People who are world-class at what they do. So there's lessons in everything, and there are lessons in this conversation. Be a student always. Look for excellence always. Network with the best. And until next time, get out there and make your life amazing. I'll see you soon.